Okay, you got one set up. All right. Oh, hold on. I didn't even send out the link.
Oh, yeah.
We just
There's
doing
no
shit here. We
link.
acting little wild and crazy and getting ahead of ourselves here. All right, let me get the link then.
Okay.
And send it out.
Oh, we're live.
I'll probably start with the Spider-Man talk because I think that people are going to be less concerned with that. They're going to care less about that. It's okay. I'm sorry if you hear typing really loud. It's just for right now. Screening live. This one guy on Twitter is responding to. I'm saying you more than likely don't raise a stink when Twitch allows. I don't even watch Twitch, so I mean, I don't raise a stink regardless. But call it good when Hasan gets suspended off Twitch for the word cracker? That's not what I'm referring to either. Either way, that's not the argument. That's the funny thing. We'll get to that, but that's funny because people keep dodging the argument, and it's like, huh? No,
Repeated
that's
yourself so many
not
times.
correct at all. That's not the reason why I think I don't really even praise Twitch for banning them. I don't even care if they do or not. The point is that I just think it's consistent with what their terms of service is.
Yeah. No one
And
said
Hasan,
it was more offensive or equally offensive, like people are responding with.
And Hasan's basically bitching that they're not giving him special treatment compared to, like, anybody else. Like,
yeah.
This is where I said this all boils down to either it's never okay or it's never okay except when you do it against one group of people.
Yeah.
Like that's you're making the distinction that it's never okay except when done to this one group of people.
Yeah.
Where people are telling you no, it's never okay. You know what I'm saying? And you're arguing, well, except for this one point, I guess, but it's very strange. Twisted Smiles here, what's up? What? So yeah, we got hardly anybody here, so they're gonna miss the new Spider-Man stuff, but that's okay because I figured, like I said, that's probably the least likely thing people care about. I'm not spoiling anything. I haven't seen the new. So why aren't you defending that? I don't even know what's that in reference to. But I haven't seen the new Spider-Man, so I'm not gonna spoil anything. I just, from what I've seen from like trailers and stuff, I have a few issues that could be taken. That could not even be issues. Like I could watch it and it could totally be explained within the film, and it totally makes sense. In fact, I have a few ways that it could make sense. Not that they would be good. You know what I'm saying? Like they wouldn't be good ways to make it make sense. It would make sense. You're pro free speech, right? Why not call out Twitch instead of crying with their hypocritical?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm not pro free speech. When have I ever been pro free speech?
Yeah.
Like, I'm for free speech when it comes from the government, but not from businesses. I'm totally for if you say the N-word in McDonald's, I think McDonald's should be able to kick you out. Like, I don't think free speech extends to you're able to go on a platform or someone else's business and say what you want and they can't control. Yeah. Just like, I'm for free speech, but if I invited you over my house and you come over and you start saying shit I don't like, I should 100% reserve the right to be able to kick you out.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away your ability to speak. You're still able to speak. Like Hasan can still go over to YouTube, he can go to any other platform and still be able to speak, which is fine. It's not the government telling him he can't speak. That's why I'm pro free speech as detailed by the government, not by, like, I don't think that higher powers should be able to tell you. But if you own a platform, you should be able to dictate how that platform wants to do. Yeah. And my thing is, I'm not even pro them banning Hasan or against them banning Hasan. My thing is that they stay consistent to what they say their rules are, right? If they say, hey, if you're going to bully someone or if you're going to use racial slurs, we're going to ban you. I don't think they should be like, if you use racial slurs, we're going to ban you, except when you use it against these one person, right? So you're pro cancel? I didn't say I was pro cancel culture. No.
Twitch is. I think that Twitch seems like a pretty progressive platform in general. So if people are having a complaint about them censoring this word now for white people, just like they censor a word for black people, that sounds like they're being pretty consistent on their platform. And if people don't like that, like Twitch doesn't even allow drawn nipples on their platform. But if people want to show that type of content, there's other places that they could go to say those things or show those things. No
Yeah,
one's
this is like the
forcing
thing
anyone
on
to use that platform.
there's like the thing on Censored TV where Devin was deleting comments, and
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, I thought you were pro free speech,"
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, but my videos are like my living room. So if you come to my living room and you talk shit that I don't like, I should totally reserve the right to be able to kick you out and not listen to you. You know what I'm saying? Just your freedom to have speech isn't freedom for me to listen to you.
Exactly.
If I don't want to listen to you, then I don't have to listen to you, you know.
Why should someone be forced to keep insults on their own platform? Why should somebody be forced to keep up insults and misinterpretations of somebody else's, like, words that you could go back and rewind and hear again if you're confused or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't even care that they ban certain words. Like, I don't even think cracker should be banned. It's a food. It has other words to it. Like, it's fine.
But people aren't using it.
But yeah, but they have anti-bullying rules, and Twitch constantly talks about how they're anti-bullying.
Yeah.
And if you call somebody a derogatory term based on their skin color, that's technically bullying, right?
Yeah.
So why shouldn't they ban other people for bullying when they use other racial slurs, but all of a sudden it's not bullying when it's done to white people? Like, that seems inconsistent to me, completely inconsistent. It's just
right. So
not a good argument.
If Twitch is a public platform, you're not forced to use it. No one's forcing you to use Twitch.
Especially from someone like Hasan, who's the first person who will tell you, oh, white people just want to use the N-word and make arguments like that, right? Like, it's never okay, even when it's not harming people. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know, nobody's making a claim that crackers is harming anyone. We're just saying that if you use it in that way, your intention is to do that. You know what I'm saying? You're free to walk away, and Twitch is a public platform. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a private company, and owned by private interest, and they can run any way they want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost like saying McDonald's is a public place at this point, because you can go in and not order anything. They actually have like internet where you can go in and use it as like an internet cafe, right?
Yeah.
And just hook up your Wi-Fi and sit there without ordering anything. It's literally, that's not how it works. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a private business, and private businesses should be able to run their businesses the way they choose.
Exactly.
That's my belief. I'm not against YouTube banning people. I'm against YouTube banning people inconsistently, inconsistent to their values and the rules they set up, and giving you a terms of service that's not very precise.
Clear.
You know what I'm saying? That's inaccurate.
What was the
whether it's like, oh, you can't bully people, but then somebody's bullying somebody, and you're like, oh, well, they're just bullying white people, so that's fine.
So that's fine.
Nobody's being harmed with that. The white people are fine, so it's fine for them to bully people. No, you got to stay consistent. This is how people work in general. Like, imagine a dog that you only, when he barks at people, you reprimand him, but when he barks at white people, you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're being very inconsistent to this dog in the way that you're treating it.
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't understand, and now it thinks it's only okay to bark at white people. You basically trained this dog to be racist. Lefties going full mask off, defending anti-white slurs. Yeah, basically. And they try to use this argument of, which isn't the argument. Nobody's made the argument that it hurts anybody or that anyone feels bullied or oppressed, but they're making the argument that the intention is there. Nobody calls someone a cracker not based on their skin color.
Yeah.
If you did, then it wouldn't be a problem, right? But they were watching, from what I've seen, I haven't seen the clip, but from what I've seen, see, I want to talk about Spider-Man first. This guy derailed me. From what I've seen, somebody left a comment, and Hasan has mentioned it a bit himself, that they were watching MasterChef.
Yeah.
And one of the guys lost, I'm going to guess. It's a white guy. So two of his mods started calling that guy cracker. I'm guessing someone flagged it, because it is against Twitch's terms of service to insult people based on their skin color, right? I would assume so. I would assume that's considered a form of bullying, whether someone feels bullied or not. Because if somebody did that with the N-word, they would get upset and they would ban you, whether that person literally said, that person could come out and say, no, I wasn't hurt at all, I found it funny. They still, would be like, no, we're going to call that bullying. We don't find that. You just made that argument. You said it was bullying. Yeah, it is bullying. Yeah. Your intention is to bully. Whether the person is feeling bullied or not, the intention is still to bully.
Yeah.
Nobody calls a white person a cracker without the intention to bully that person or be derogatory towards that person based on their skin color.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody says it in that way. I really disbelieve that Twitch banned Hasan's mods because they were talking about what they were eating
Goldfish
for lunch,
crackers,
and they
yeah.
had some crackers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really doubt that's what happened. I think what happened was they were talking with intent to be cruel. Whether the person is damaged by it or not, the intention is still to be cruel.
Yeah.
And the intention is to bully, which is against the rules of Twitch, right?
Yeah.
I don't see how that's inconsistent within the rules of Twitch for them to ban Hasan. They didn't even ban him. They suspended
him.
For
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
Basically a suspension to as a warning to be like, hey, look, this kind of behavior, we don't tolerate that on Twitch. You know?
Yeah.
And of course, that's their choice. My only argument is that they stay consistent within that choice of how they want to run their business. Now, when other people are arguing now, they twist what you're saying. This all started because sorry. It's just this thing. This little cable got a little caught.
Oh.
This all started because Destiny made a point that Hasan is always talking about being anti-bully, about not using racial slurs. You can't even use it in private where nobody's being harmed, you know, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, and he's totally for Twitch, for every other racial slur. He's totally for Twitch.
Censored.
You know.
Banned.
Yeah, banning people or making rules against people using it. But then when it comes to him, and only when it's towards white people, is it okay. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
and people shouldn't be banned for it. Like that's where the inconsistency lies. What they do, then that's what the argument is. That's the argument Destiny made, that it was hypocritical of Hasan to do that. Now, the way they obfuscate and they jump around the argument is to say, oh, but nobody's being hurt here. And it's like, yeah, you can say that, but nobody is arguing that somebody got hurt by this.
Exactly.
No one is arguing that someone's offended. Even when you watch Hasan talk about this, he brings it up like a million times. Oh, these weak white people, they're so offended and hurt. Yeah. Nobody's offended. Nobody's hurt. That. Nobody's made any argument to say, hey, you're hurting people's feelings. Nobody has made that argument. The argument is the intention of the person saying it.
Yeah.
And what the rules are and how that should stay consistent. What's up, Jacob?
Hey, Jacob.
It's not about the hurt, it's about the intent. Yeah, exactly. Bill knows. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's the part that's inconsistent, is that, you know, and even Hasan, when he's explaining that he got banned and the use of the word cracker, he doesn't say how he said it.
Yeah.
He doesn't say what his intentions are in saying it.
Exactly.
All he talks about is nobody was hurt. White people are not oppressed. You know, hierarchy, blah, 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 and all these things that are beside the point. Yeah. The point is, what did you mean when you said it, right? Yeah. Were you meaning it in a way to say, I don't like this person, so now I'm going to insult them based on their skin color, right? Is that what you said? Because that's probably what happened. That's probably what the mods were doing. That was probably their intention. They were really angry. They didn't like this person on MasterChef, and they lost, and they were celebrating his loss by calling him that based on his skin color. I really doubt that person they were calling cracker was Chinese or Arabic, you know, or any, you know, maybe Japanese. I doubt it. Pretty sure it was a white person, and probably an indistinct white person. They didn't know the nationality. You know, like just. So, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But I was going to talk about Spider-Man. I didn't get to watch the new Hawkeye episode, Jacob, so no spoilers, please. I'm not going to spoil Spider-Man either. I'm just going to go. I haven't seen it, so there's no way I can spoil it anyways. But I wanted to talk about how I think... I don't like the idea. I thought it was cheesy that they brought back the old actors that play these villains. The more I've seen it, the more I've been accepting of it, because they're like different versions of those characters. They're not the same versions from those old movies, right? Like the Electro has like a Tony Stark power reactor thing on his chest, which seems like that character is very different than the one that was in the other thing. But the villains as much aren't a problem for me, but having the other Spider-Mans are the problem for me, because I don't understand how you can have multiple Peter Parkers in different timelines within the MCU, because the MCU establishes how time divergence works and how the multiverse works. And we've seen it through Loki and through What If, right? And it shows us that all the humans are the same, basically, genetic people, the same genetic person, but their story's different because a different choice happened in their timeline that changed the timeline and the way the choices people made. Right? Like, T'Challa is still T'Challa, even though he's the one who went to space and became Star-Lord. It may be a different Star-Lord, but he's still T'Challa. It's still the same T'Challa that we know as Black Panther in the MCU, which, you know, now the actor's dead, but whatever. Same thing with Sharon Carter, is that her name? Yeah, the Sharon Carter chick.
Mm-hmm.
She becomes Captain America, but it's not like it's a completely different person that looks different, was
Yeah.
born at a different time but had the same experience. No, it's the same exact Agent Carter, only some choice made it that she gets the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers. And in fact, in that one, since Steve Rogers, the same exact Steve Rogers in a different timeline, didn't get the super soldier serum, he becomes Iron Man when Howard Stark makes him a suit, right? Remember we watched that? What if? So things happen very differently there, but they're still the same people. So now, how can you have different Peter Parkers exist that looked completely different genetically,
But they're all
the same person?
Yeah.
They're all Peter Parker? Like, it doesn't make sense. But they're all Peter Parker who have almost a very similar life, similar costume. They all become Spider-Man by getting bitten by a radioactive spider at different times, mind you. One of them happens in the early 2000s, one's in like the 2010s, and now the more recent one. Like it doesn't make sense, right? Do they have the same parents? They're all raised by a single Aunt May. Like what? How are these all the same? They should all look the same, at least close to looking the same, right? Genetically, because what divergent aspect happened differently in their world that created a Peter Parker that existed 20 years
all
earlier,
types of
looked completely different, even though they have the same parents and the same names, but those parents look different, even though they're the same name, same kind of life. Like, it doesn't make sense the way they've set up the MCU by saying that it's like divergent multiverse,
Right.
And all lost 3 Uncle Bens. Yeah, they were totally different Uncle Bens. They didn't look the same. They were completely different genetic individuals. Like, it just doesn't make sense. The likeliness of something like that happen by chance is so small
rare,
that it hardly makes any sense that you would bring them together. Now, that's not to say the movie won't explain it. Maybe it'll explain it. I made an explanation that I was talking about Mysterio. Mysterio seems like he doesn't die. Like, that's kind of the character. He's the Lord of Illusions, basically. So he always makes it, like, even within
He's always there.
Far From Home, he dies like 4 times in that movie, and still comes back, right? And then even at the end when he dies, the end credits is him popping up with a video saying Spider-Man killed me, he's really Peter Parker, So it's like, this could all be part of his elaborate plot to create this illusion world. But now we add Doctor Strange, so that makes it weird. But then Spider-Man fucks up Doctor Strange's spell, which is what I've seen in the trailer. So I don't know, maybe there's a way they can explain that from him fucking up the spell that makes it seem like, from what I've seen, the villains are different. We've seen they're the same actors, but they've modernized their looks. They've made them more MCU appropriate looks, like to match the MCU. So it seems like instead of this being the Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, this is a different Electro who's also Jamie Foxx, but a different Electro that grew up in a place where there was Stark Enterprises, and he stole the power from Stark. Probably like Iron Man 2, the Whiplash guy.
Oh, right.
His Electro's thing kind of looks very similar get up to the Whiplash dude, so it could be like instead it was him, right? Like, so I don't know, maybe they explain it away, but to me it never makes sense. It seems just more like a nostalgic cash grab. But I'm not very nostalgic for those characters, and I would have preferred to see new MCU versions of each of those villains. I have a very I love like Spider-Man villains, and I like to see the MCU do it their way. I don't want to see the old versions come back. I want to see the MCU way. That's what we pay for. I pay to watch MCU shit because I want to see MCU shit. Now, that being said, though, I haven't seen the new Hawkeye, but the rumor is that they brought Kingpin back in.
Oh.
So is this a different Kingpin, an alternate universe Kingpin? Or are they saying the old Daredevil show wasn't part of the MCU, but now this is? You know what I'm saying? And they're bringing him in. I'm not sure. We haven't seen it yet, but that's going to be interesting too. And I liked him as Kingpin. That was a good representation. But that Daredevil show originally, even though it was on Netflix, was meant to be part of the MCU. It was meant to be the street level of MCU. They bring up the Avengers. They bring up the alien invasion from the first Avengers. I think the first season of all those shows take place right after. It was like a year after the invasion that happened in Avengers. They bring it up because most of them take place in New York, right? So they bring up the battle and all that. Or you'll see in the background a news article that says, last year's, alien invasion did some damage to we're still in recovery or stuff like that, But I find it strange, and I think it kind of world breaks the world they've created with Loki, which is like, oh yeah, so I've gotten the argument, but what about Loki? Because there's different Lokis, right? So my explanation for this is Loki is more of a title, but also Loki himself doesn't look like you see him.
Yeah.
Tom Hiddleston is how he chooses to look to fit in with the Asgardian royalty who adopted him.
Right.
But say somebody else adopted him, he would look different. When you see him and Odin first discovers him and adopts him, he's a baby that's blue with the tribal markings that all the frost giants have on their faces, right? Yeah. They all have like these like weird designs on their faces. Yeah. That's what he looks like. But as he gets older, he's a master illusionist as well. And as he gets older, he decides to look more Asgardian to fit in with his brother and his dad and his mom who adopted him and raised him. He loves being, even though he's the god of mischief. And I think Loki is the name of the god of mischief, not necessarily that specific being, right? Yeah. I think he can be different because he's not a specific being. Loki is there's like Thor. If somebody else can pick up Thor's hammer and use it, they become Thor. Yeah. Right? And that's what's going to happen in the next movie. Jane Foster's going to become Thor. And I'm going to guess the real Thor is going to lose his worthiness for it. Right? And she's going to become Thor. So because she takes the title of the god of thunder of Asgard, and all gods of thunder of Asgard are named Thor. Just like all gods of mischief of Asgard are named Loki. So regardless of who you are, if you become the god of mischief of Asgard, your name is Loki. So they're not all the same person. But some of them are. The male one and the female one, they could be the same person. All that matters is who raised them. And what image they chose to take. She always wanted to be a Valkyrie in the Loki. I guess they were raised by someone else and wanted to be a Valkyrie and looked up to the Valkyrie. So she chose, that Loki chose the form of a woman, to be like a Valkyrie, right? So it makes sense. Loki doesn't count in that. That's why there's a black Loki, there's an old Loki, there's a kid Loki, one that never grew up, I guess. Like the kid one decided to stay as a kid, all that kind of stuff. What's up? Yeah, but it doesn't make sense with a Peter Parker. It's fine if there were different Spider-Mans, which in the comics there's a plethora of multiverse Spider-Mans to choose from, right? There's a punk Spider-Man, there's female Spider-Girl, Spider-Women, there's so many. Miles Morales, the one from Into the Spider-Verse. Like you could have chose any of those to bring in, but instead and you could have brought the old actors to even play those characters, just not be Peter Parker, just be different Spider-Mans from different universes, with different names, But I did see in the trailer, Doctor Strange says he messes something up and now it's like Peter Parker doesn't exist or something, because there's a scene where Doctor Strange is fighting Dr. Octopus with Spider-Man, and they stops him and he says,
"You're not Peter Parker."
Yeah, he says, "You're looking for Peter Parker, right? Is that Peter Parker?" And he says, "No." So it's like, he knows who Peter Parker is, but he doesn't recognize him as such. So maybe something with the spell changed all other Spider-Mans to becoming Peter Parker and not him. And now he's not Peter Parker, Who knows? That's what I'm saying. Like, in some way they can explain that and it can make sense. So we're going to find out soon enough because we'll see the movie. It comes out this week, so. But yeah, well, in the comics, Beta Ray Bill became a Thor before and was given a similar hammer as well as I remember. Yeah, there's different Thors. And there was a guy in the 80s and 90s when I grew up, Thor was embodied by a guy named Eric Masterson, who was a single dad. And he had a damaged leg, and when he would slam a cane, he would summon Thor. Oh. But it would be him in Thor's body, but his own mind and thoughts. And Thor was like trapped somewhere, like the actual Thor. So because he had the hammer and would turn into the God of Thunder, he would become Thor. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Anybody who is the God of Thunder of Asgard is Thor. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same being every time. So it can be a completely different being. Like eventually Thor is going to become Odin. And he's going to become the god of gods, and his son will become Thor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you're the god of thunder, now you're Thor. Peter looks different in every universe, so his Peter looks different. Yeah, but why would he look different? That doesn't make any sense when each universe is created by making one different choice that diverges the timeline, right? Like they explained in Loki. This is why, it would make sense in the comics, because the comics don't work that way. The multiverses don't work like that in the comics. But the movies explained, well, the Loki and What If explains that the multiverse is created, that there is one definite timeline, if you remember. Even Loki explains, right? In the Loki series, it explains there is one definite timeline. And all the multiverse is basically branches off of that timeline where divergent things happen differently. Somebody makes a different choice, and now that diverges and breaks into a different timeline, creating an entirely different timeline. But there is one main real timeline that's the actual real timeline, right? So what divergent thing, this is what I would ask is, what divergent thing created, what happened different in that universe that created a different Peter Parker that was born 20 years earlier to the same guy to 20, it doesn't make any sense. That so then that it doesn't make any sense to me. And then a lot of people will just say they like it, that concept, because they're nostalgic of the characters, but I don't feel very nostalgic for those characters. I like those movies as those movies. That's fine, but keep them at those movies. I want MCU to do their own version of things, and I like the MCU version of things, and I like to keep it that way, Like, now I'm hearing they're getting Hugh Jackman back to do Wolverine again, and it's like, I don't really want Wolverine to be Hugh Jackman. Like, can we just have a whole new MCU Wolverine, I know they brought in Deadpool, but Deadpool, to me, kind of doesn't count because he breaks the fourth wall and talks to the audience. So it's almost like he's not even there. You know what I'm saying? Like for him, it makes sense for him to be in a different timeline. I mean, even in his movies, he brings up Ryan Reynolds playing the Green Lantern in another movie and all this shit. The shitty Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool earlier in the shitty Wolverine movie that came out that was real shitty. And he brings that up. So he breaks the fourth wall and doesn't exist in reality, basically, in the reality of the MCU. So I'm fine with that, But besides that, it doesn't make sense for them to have a different Peter Parker unless they make an excuse for it, like, oh no, this guy's adopted. He's not the product of May and Richard Parker, or Mary and Richard Parker. He was adopted. That's why he looks different, or something like that. That would make sense. Or this one got powers a different way and his name's not Peter Parker. Like, that would make sense. But yeah, that's my idea of it. I think it just doesn't make sense to me, and it kind of breaks the world they've already created. But like I said, we'll find out. We'll see if they made a way. Maybe it makes sense in a different way. What's next? Next we got Hasan, right? Getting banned. So we kind of had this argument at the beginning, but Hasan gets banned. I'm pretty sure, people are making this argument that well, now I think they're just banning people who say the word cracker anyway. But I think that's because of people using it like crazy and pushing the button, and then they don't have the resources to check the nuance of every single time someone uses it. It's like, hey, just stop using it and just use it in normal conversation, and eventually it'll go back to being like normal conversation, like when you're talking about eating crackers or something. But most of all, I think originally they banned Hasan's mods. It's funny because they banned Hasan's mods and he says because they use the word cracker. It's funny he leaves a certain subtext to it. How did they use it? Now I seen from somebody replying to him that they said they were watching Master Chef. Some guy lost and then they started calling him a cracker. I bet even in that explanation there's shit missing, and they're not telling you like the intent or how they meant it. Did they like the guy? Did they not like the guy? Like, saying. But regardless, in the end, they're obviously calling him a cracker based on his skin color.
Right.
And not for any other reason. You know what I'm saying? I really doubt the guy is like Chinese, Arabic, or, a black guy and they're calling him cracker. I really doubt that. That's not happening. And if it was, then in no world would they have called him that. You know what I'm saying? So it's obvious, and they should just outright admit it, that they meant it in that way and accept it and be like, all right, I accept it. Hasan's getting a 1-week ban. How bad is that?
Yeah.
Dude's rich as fuck. He's like the highest paid person and number one probably in on Twitch. He could take a week off. No big deal. In fact, holidays are coming up. Take a week off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's why. Show up on your friends' podcasts and streams so that you can give them some views and share the wealth of it. Take a week off. You're fine. It's not going to hurt you. But at least admit, I broke the rules. Whatever. I'm taking the 1 week off to, accept that I broke the rules, and that's it. big deal. That's what Destiny was talking about, the consistency, because he's like, yeah, how funny is this that this guy who says all these things that you can't, Destiny got in trouble with all these lefties at one point because he admitted one time that he says the N-word around his friends.
Mm-hmm.
But not even in a racial way, like just to say, like when you're repeating a song lyric or, just casual conversation, if the word comes up within a referential context, he says it. Yeah. And he's like, and it's not harming anybody. It's just between me and my friends, like 3-4 people. It's not harming anyone. None of them, you can ask them, none of them are harmed by it. So then what does it matter? And they all flipped on him and argued with him about, oh, no, you can't even say it in that context. So they're telling you, so it's not about harm. So it's funny when Destiny brings this up and argues like, hey, you guys are being hypocritical. This is a fair and consistent, suspension.
Yeah.
They go, oh, this isn't harming anybody. It's not harming anybody. And it's like, oh, well, I thought you guys were okay when it doesn't harm anybody, but you still can't say that, right? Like, where's the consistency? Where, at what point it's okay for this, but it's not okay for that? And that's where I say the argument is really, it's either never okay to them. Like when you're talking to them, it's either never okay, or they're telling you it's never okay except when you do it towards this one race of people. Then it's totally fine. So it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it's very inconsistent of them to do that. And they don't understand the consistency. So when you make that argument, Destiny did this last night. We were watching that video he did last night where he says, you notice nobody addresses the argument. Like I make an argument and everybody's, oh, you're offended. Oh, this and that. Oh, it's not hurting anybody. And it's like, but nobody made any of those arguments.
No.
Like, that never happened. Nobody's arguing with them and saying, hey, you're hurting people's feelings. Like nobody said that. So it's weird that they keep answering back with that. And it's like, but that's not part of what the conversation is. The conversation is whether it's consistent for Twitch to do that or not with their own rules. They're the ones who made their own rules. And then now people are commenting on whether they're enforcing their rules consistently or not. Some guy was arguing with me today saying, but they don't even do it consistently. People get away with saying the N-word all the time. Yeah, but that's people getting away with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't mean you still get to say the words that are bannable.
Hasan's a big time person on Twitch. People watch him like crazy. It's more likely that whatever he does is going to come to the attention of Twitch instead of a smaller YouTuber where people are coding the N-word into the chat, with numbers and letters and making a code out of it, If you see that
single letter spelling it out, like we've seen on like certain people's live streams as well.
Yeah, but if you see that, then why don't you report that and make it aware to Twitch? If your problem is that they're not consistently doing that, then report it. But don't say that when they are being consistent with it. Don't say, well, they shouldn't be problem. Because they didn't catch this. Well, you didn't report that, did you? Like if you reported it, maybe they would have caught that.
Like if there's all types of racial slurs that can be used towards any type of race. If you're using those words, you'll probably get banned as well from Twitch. It's just not very commonly used. We know the two that are now being most commonly used in those situations. So,
but this is where I say where they dodge the intention as well, because it's also a thing that it's not just about the word itself. It's about the intention of how they use the word. I really doubt Twitch is gonna ban you if you go if your chat asks you, oh, what'd you have for lunch? I just had some crackers that I put some cheese on it, cheese and crackers. That's all I had for lunch. I don't think they're gonna ban you for saying that. Now, if you're watching something and you hate a white guy on the show and you go, oh, this blah blah, that's a totally different thing. It doesn't even matter if you're using cracker. It could be any other word. There's a Hasan made an argument that worked against them. He was like, oh, what, now we can't call people Nazis or something like that? It's like well, if you're calling people Nazis that you don't even know what their philosophies are and you're just going on basing it on their skin color and saying they're Nazis just because they're white and you don't like them, that's a derogatory racial term then. And maybe you should. Maybe that would that's consistent with their rules about you not using racial slurs. Because if you're calling somebody a Nazi based on their skin color, you're literally committing a racial slur. Whether there's harm or not, that's the argument they keep dancing to about harm, and I'm like, it has nothing to do with harm. And they go, oh, well, you're just mad, you're just offended, and it's like, no, I'm really not. Like, I'm not even white, I'm not offended. You can call me a cracker all you want, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. You could call me the racial term for my ethnicity, and I don't even care. Like, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's not a big deal to me. I'm offended in the same way I would be offended if you called me an asshole or a bitch or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just you're trying to use a term to offend me. I'm not gonna let you. You know, like, I don't care. Or I'll just use an equally offensive term to you. You know, and even it up, and that's it. You know. But to say that I'm offended by it, like, why would I be offended by it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I take no offense to it. And in fact, I would even go as far to say that I don't think barely anyone takes offense to it. I just say that that's irrelevant to the argument and, you know, inconsequential to what we're talking about.
That was never the argument that people made, that it's as offensive or people are offended. It's just like, it's funny that someone tried to say that it was out of context the time that Bosch was saying just the other day that calling people cracker, it's not that it's as offensive as saying the N-word, but it's a shitty thing to do and we shouldn't do it. Later on, you go on his Twitter and he's using the word cracker because I guess now he's been banned from Twitch or has a suspension.
I don't know what got him banned from Twitch. Well, Hasan is funny because we're gonna watch in a bit. The Young Turks do a video, but it's funny because in their video they show Hasan's clip of him addressing it, and in his clip addressing it, he insults white people like crazy. He's like, "Oh, you pasty, blah 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 blah," and then they're saying he's getting banned for using a word that based on food. That's like, the cracker. Who even uses that? But he just spent an hour saying, "You pasty white, blah 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 blah." Like, do we not understand his attention now and what he means when he says that? Like, how can we not? Like, it doesn't make any.
He doesn't like the food.
Let me see if I'll bring it up. Like, how does that even work, right? Let's see. The Young Turks talk about it. It's funny, they did like a small thing on it. It's like, well, we got the obligatory "let me talk about my nephew" video. It's like 6 minutes or something. It's so small. Let's see. The Young Jerks. Oh, Twitch bans Hasan. 5 minutes. It's a 5-minute video. Let me find a way for us both to hear this. Hold on. Getting it ready. Oh, we gotta go in one of these rooms, I think. Yeah. But you can hear me, so I don't need to have this. Okay. And then I'm going to window capture. I gotta show it on the stupid OBS. Alright, here we go. Let's see what they say. Our favorite nephew or something.
Is in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Our sweet nephew, Hasan Piker, is in trouble. And turns out that he got banned from the platform that shot him to fame, Twitch, because he used an incredibly offensive word.
Oh my God.
See, now that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
No, but I don't think anybody's made the argument that it's offensive. I think also we'll see Hasan's video, but apparently they aren't releasing a statement as to why they banned him, so nobody knows. They just know it's for that word, but they don't know why. But they're saying it's incredibly offensive. Nobody's said this so far. It is meant to be offensive. Whether it is or not doesn't matter, I think. Personally, I think that doesn't matter. I think with the way they were saying it was meant to be offensive towards a person's skin color.
Yeah.
Now they make the argument that like, white people have all the powers. That doesn't matter. I think that doesn't matter. I think it's more about a person's intention. And I think bullying's bullying, whether somebody feels bullied or not, right? Like, at least according to their rules, you know.
Anna, what was it?
I mean, look, the word is so offensive that we might need to target a restaurant franchise that also uses the word in their name, Cracker Barrel.
No, that's Seaward Barrel.
God,
Seaward Barrel.
Barrel.
See, now, here's where they're doing the thing that becomes a joke in this that nobody's saying.
Yeah.
They're making a joke out of it, like you're not allowed to say the word cracker anymore, and I'm like, no, I think the point is you're not supposed to use it. Look, it's funny because the title of the video says it. TYT bans Hasanabi for using racial slur. Nobody's saying that you can't use the word cracker. What they're saying is you can't use it as a racial slur.
Yeah.
Now, I'll bring this up later because he brings up the N-word and that how it's only used for that, and that's why you can't say that, but you can say this.
Yeah.
Now, I have another racial slur that also has a different meaning that I bet you any money Tank would still not be cool with you saying when using it in that way. You know?
Apologies. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. I really hope I don't get canceled for this.
Yeah, and it's got the word country in it too. Some people find that offensive. Old other C-word store, C-word barrel.
So let me give you
C-word
guys,
barrel? Nobody's saying you have to say C-word. They are saying that they're banning anyone saying cracker now, but like I said, I think that's because of this situation and Hasan being so big that people are typing cracker everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's setting off all the flags for them, and they can't, rifle through all the nuance of every fucking context for every time. So instead, to play it safe, they're going, just ban it all for now, until it calms down, and then people can go back to saying cracker all they want, except for in this context. You know?
The context here. Twitch has decided to implement a 1-week suspension.
It's a 1-week
for
suspension
Haas.
too.
And there are other streamers who are now also experiencing this suspension. For instance, Vosh is another streamer. He is indefinitely suspended because apparently he used the word cracker in his stream. And so this all started with
but this is how they dance around it. They all just say the same thing. It's because they said cracker, but they don't explain in what context they said it.
Yeah.
They don't explain what their intention was of saying it. They don't say who they said it to. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you talking about? Are you talking about race of people? Are you talking about a specific person? Is that person white? Like, are you on stream all the time calling Asians crackers and black people crackers? I'm sure you're not. I'm sure that is a very race specific insult that you are slinging at someone based on their skin color.
And Hasan noticed that 2 of his moderators or mods had been suspended from Twitch, and it was because they had used the word cracker.
And what context did they use the word cracker, right? It's so funny because they had used, just as I just said it before, that she keeps saying that, now she's explaining the initial thing, and it's, when they, because they used the word cracker. It's like, are you sure? Were they saying, hey guys, we should have cheese and crackers for lunch? Is that what they were saying?
Yeah.
And then when they banned them, I don't think that's what they're saying. Right? Yeah, I don't think they were saying that, right? Like, on for lunch, I like to put a little butter on some crackers and I eat it. I don't think that's what they were saying. I think that there's a specific context to the way they were using that word.
I think that's what they want people to believe is the meaning for the word cracker being used. And I'll admit, I thought that's what that word was for.
Well, I explained it to you. I realized I'll explain it again here, but I'm pretty sure most people know this. At least I thought it did. I was wrong. I thought most people knew what cracker meant.
Yeah.
But I realize I have to keep explaining it all the time. And I realize that most people don't know. They think they're just that white goes with like the crack saltine crackers. Yeah. That's why they're calling them white. I've even had people say, oh, this for a word that means that you're salty. And I'm like, that's not what cracker means. And that's not how these people are using the word cracker. Hasan hasn't even made that claim that that's the way he was using it. And if you watch his video, he specifically brings up what it means. Yeah. And he goes over it. So these people saying that they're calling this person salty or anything like that is incorrect. What a cracker is somebody who cracks a whip. So when you call someone a cracker, you're calling them an evil slave driver. Yeah. Everybody knows that being a slave driver is evil, right? So you're calling somebody evil based on the color of their skin.
Yeah, and when I found that out, I felt and still feel like the biggest moron for having thought like that's not what it meant. Like I have no excuse. I have absolutely no excuse. Like,
it's all right.
What is wrong?
Not everybody knows. It's fine, but understand that people only call people that based on their color of their skin. Like I said, they're not calling somebody from China. They're not watching a Korean Squid Game and calling one of the Koreans in there a cracker. You know what I'm saying? That's not happening. This is a very specific racial slur to someone, and it's calling them an evil slave driver, basically. You don't even know who that person, and you know they do it based on skin color. It's not even by nationality. Like if the person's Irish, like you realize the Irish were oppressed, right? You know, it's the Scots were oppressed. You know, Polish were oppressed. Like this, it doesn't work the same way. Like so, they're really just it's a slur no matter which way you see it. Whether it hurts somebody or not, it's a totally different argument, and not something that anybody's arguing anyway. So why even bother bringing it up, right?
That sparked a debate with others in his community who disagree with his take on cracker. He does not think that it's offensive, and it is not the equivalent.
But that's not what they're arguing with him. I've seen all the arguments against Hasan, and not one of them have said it is offensive. All they're saying is that it's meant to be offensive.
Yeah.
And that it is a racial slur, whether it's offensive or not. And I've seen multiple people say it doesn't matter if it's offensive or not. It's still a racial slur. Yeah, and it is.
Using, let's say, the N-word, which is an actual.
Yeah, but you see, they keep doing that too, and that's where the argument always go to. Oh, it's nowhere near as bad as the N-word. It's like nobody's saying it's as bad as the N-word. And nobody has said that at all. Like, there's been no one person who argued that says cracker is equivalent to the N-word. Nobody has ever said that. But you know why it's not equivalent? Because white people have tough skin. They don't have a word that you can't say. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're not they don't consider themselves special in a way to say there's a word that only our race can say. White people don't do that at all. There's no one word that I think. In fact, white people have shared their language to the point where me, a Latino, now originally speak Spanish, which is a European language, and now English, a European language. You know what I'm saying? And nobody has ever told me I'm not allowed to speak English or I'm not allowed to speak Spanish. You know, all my black friends have never told me that someone has told them they're not allowed to say certain words in English. Nobody has ever told them that, you know? So that's the difference here of why one has power, one doesn't, because certain people give certain words power. And some certain people don't give other words power. You call a white person a cracker, most of the time they're going to be like, nah. Yeah, you don't bother. I'm offended as much as if you called me anything else. You know what I'm saying? But that's not your intention of calling a person cracker. Your intention of calling a person cracker is to offend them based on their skin color. That is your intention of saying it. Yeah. And that's the intention when you call somebody that. It's always the intention.
Slur. Others
it's always
disagree.
Based on race.
And since Twitch, like many other social media platforms, aren't very clear on what their terms of service happen to be, or more importantly, they don't apply their rules evenly among all streamers.
Yes.
Turns out that
it's funny because now she's saying it now. Oh, they don't apply it evenly. Well, this is them trying. You're bitching about them doing it evenly. You know, and that's how where that argument goes. Where people are like, oh, you know, how many times the N-word gets through, they're not even good at policing. Yeah, but you're bitching about it when they are good at it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why not just bitch out when they're bad at it, and then thumbs up when they're good at it? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the point here. Is what they are good at it, you still bitch about it. There's no winning with you. When they're not good at it, you bitch. When they're good at it, you bitch. You know what I'm saying? There's no winning with you.
Ends up getting a 1-week suspension. So he talked about this through Twitter, saying, yes, it is for exactly what you think it is, anti-white racism for using the term cracker.
Yes, but he's admitting here that he committed anti-white racism. He just excuses it by saying it's okay to be racist towards white people. That's his argument. Right. That's basically what his argument is.
And
Twitch is saying it's not.
Where he you use that word. So let's just take a quick look at that offensive video.
Listen to the I've been called a cracker more times than every single one of you pasty little cracker bitches in my chat. Okay,
he's already insulting more white people.
Let's be real for a second. Okay, Mr. Alabama.
Bitches.
I've been called a
Mr. Alabama.
Alabama's full of black because people. I'm extremely online. Okay,
it's terrible.
So shut the up. Stop crying about this term. Okay. Recognize.
But see, this is the example I take, and this happens on the internet as well. Like I'm arguing with people on Twitter, and their response ends up being like, "You're mad. You're offended. Oh, look how mad you are." And it's like, huh? I'm not even arguing that it's offensive. Like, I'm not even arguing that anybody's upset about it. I'm just saying that
it's a slur.
It's consistent and fair of Twitch to use their terms of service in this way. Like it's not inconsistent. That's the argument. But they're like, oh, you're mad. And that's always the way it is on Twitter, because they don't have an argument against what you're saying. That's why they want to always shift the conversation and change it to something else, because they can't argue with you about what you're saying. It is consistent to ban him, but they don't want to, because they side with him and they want to be able to be racist towards white people, right? So that's why they excuse this behavior. And they literally are saying, this is why I came up with that poll. It was like, is it never okay, or is it only okay when you do it to one group of people? Because that's what they're saying. They're saying, hey, we like the rules that you say you can't bully somebody based on their race, but we want you to allow us to do it when it's to white people. Yeah. We want you to allow us to bully white people for being white, not for any other reason, but being white. You know what I'm saying? Based on the color of their skin. We want to be allowed to do that, is what their argument is. And it's funny because these are the people who say, oh, white people just want to say the N-word. Well, you guys just want to say cracker, right? How hard is it to just, like, aren't you the guys who say, oh, how hard is it to not say a racial slur? Yeah, exactly. How hard is it to not say a racial slur? Exactly.
Person who's calling you a
that's their hypocrisy.
Literally powerless, okay?
Yeah, nobody cares if there's power in it or not.
Sorry,
that's
it's just
not the point.
A person calling you a is...
Twitch didn't say, Hasan, we're banning you because you are bullying the powerless. Yeah. That's not what they said. You know what I'm saying? They said maybe for bullying behavior. Yeah. You know, now whether the other person's feeling bullied or not, or is in a position to be bullied or not, doesn't matter. You're still doing this behavior, you know?
Powerless. They're doing it.
This is like 3 ethnic kids come and beat up a white kid. And we should be like, no, that's fine because the white kid doesn't have any power. Just let him beat him up, you know, and not teach these kids that it's bad to beat someone up, regardless of the color of their skin. Yeah. You know, why are you beating that kid up? Oh, because he's white. Oh, all right. Go ahead. You know, like that's not right. You know, that's not right.
Someone who's been historically oppressed
in any
blowing
situation,
off steam.
Towards
okay,
anyone.
You can say that that's infantilizing.
So blowing off steam, but who's blowing off steam? Hasan got banned for him using it. How is he blowing off steam for slavery? Isn't he from the Ottoman Empire? Like, they were the powerful ones. What are you talking about? What are you blowing off steam for, Hasan? You're not even American. You're from Turkey. Yeah. He was born here. He's an anchor baby. His mom came to the United States, gave birth to him, and then took him back to Turkey. And he went to school in Turkey till he was like in high school or something. And then came back to the U.S. to go to Rutgers University in New Jersey, you know? Like, so... Like, what is he blowing off steam about? He has no relation to the term cracker or anything, or to slavery in the United States in any way. He has zero connection to it. So what do you?
But that's truly the reality.
Are we censoring the word cracker?
Yeah.
Well, are we really not allowed to use
by the way, I don't know if Twitch is going to ban us now because we're using the word on air. So this is real. I have no idea.
No, Cenk, I don't think they care if you use the word cracker. I think they care when you call people that based on the color of their skin, especially when you mean it with a negative connotation, which it almost always is. You know, that's what they care about.
This is insane.
Why is that insane?
This is insane.
It's insane. Yeah, you should totally be allowed to bully people, even when they don't feel bullied. Like, huh? I thought you guys are saying you can never say the N-word, even when there's no harm, and you're doing it in a place where there's no harm. Like,
what? People complained when, during Kyle Rittenhouse's trial, his lawyers repeated Rosenbaum's word when he said the N-word. Yeah. And they complained about it then, and they were just reading the quote from what was said.
Yeah, they're reading a quote, which it should be fine in that context. Yeah. In that context, no one is being derogatory. In fact, when Rosenbaum said it, he wasn't being derogatory. He wasn't. He wasn't even talking to a black person. No. He was talking to a white person, saying "shoot me," right? Like to that white person. So there was nothing racial about that situation. But now, this is where I would say that and be consistent and say that if you're talking about crackers in the food sense or in another term, or even like how they're using it now, they haven't called anyone that. Right. They're just talking about the word. That's fine. I wouldn't ban anyone for that or say that anyone should be banned. But if the rules are that you can't slur someone based on the color of their skin, then you're not allowed to call someone that, and you should be banned for doing that if that's the rule. You know, how does that not make sense? You know. And there's how they dance around that. As you notice, they never say what the context was of how that word was used, right? At no point have they gone over the context of how that word was used, the situation it was used in, who was called that. Did they even tell you, right? They have not said who was called a cracker. Who was called that? Dude, I don't know from watching this. Anybody who watches this from TYT has no idea who was called a cracker, right?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So look, obviously,
A word it deems a slur. It is a slur. By definition, it is a slur. It is a derogatory term for someone of a specific skin color. Like, it is a slur. Like, I like how they phrase this to say
they're both from
that it
Muslim
deems it a
background,
slur.
from same family. But Hasan looks pretty white, so that's why he gets called that word all the time as well, right? And so
right, where it makes no sense, but he's still being called that in a racially charged way. You know why? Because it has to do with his skin color. Hasan isn't even American. Like, he was born here, but like I said, he was raised in Turkey. He has nothing to do with American slavery or white people who whipped slaves, in the 1700s. He has nothing to do with that. So calling him that is literally a racial slur because it's based on his skin color alone, not his ideas or his thoughts or who he is,
The reason it doesn't
person.
bother him, it doesn't bother any rational person, is because
This is where I say it's a slur, because you're using it towards an immutable characteristic, right? Like a word used to insult people, only people with blue eyes. Like, you can't control your eye color. That's kind of a racial bullying then now.
there's nobody being lynched after
crazy.
being called cracker. Okay, there's no one being
Nobody said anybody was.
discriminated against after you show me.
That is a totally, I don't know if that's true, that nobody's being discriminated against after being called cracker. That might not be true. I can't say that for a fact, and it's crazy if he thinks he could say that for a fact. We already seen there was that one like autistic kid that those black people kidnapped.
That was really.
And he was a Trump. They kept calling him a Trump supporter and tasing him, and I'm sure they called him cracker there and during that too.
So, yeah.
That's being discriminated against after being called that, like literally.
Me one case where
I just said one.
black people or Latinos or whoever used it had so much power, and they said, "I don't want cracker."
Yeah, but it's not about power. This is what they do. This is the trick they use, that it's about power. So you're saying, Sachenka's saying, it's okay. I'm a Latino, so it's okay for me to go out on the street, pick a white kid, and beat the shit out of him. And when people ask me, I'll say, well, he's white and he has no power, so I called him a cracker and beat him up, and it's okay. Because I don't have any of the power. He does. That doesn't make any sense, right? That would be a discrimination if I picked him for his white skin and called him a racial slur.
Is working here.
This is the shit they were doing with the Kyle Rittenhouse shit, where it was like, oh, so you're saying that because a 17-year-old kid is walking around with a rifle, that means you should attack him and he's not allowed to defend himself? Like, do this backwards, Cenk. This is how easy this is to figure out. Just do it backwards. Just say, oh, it's okay for you to go on stream and bully on a white kid. Let's say there's an autistic white kid, right? He has a lot of mental issues. He's on stream, and Hasan decides to start calling him a cracker. Keep calling him that. It's making him cry. Is that okay then?
Yeah.
And then you could be like, no, but he's an autistic kid. You're bullying an autistic kid. But the autistic part doesn't matter. He's bullying him based on his skin color, not on his autism, right? Like, maybe Hasan doesn't even know that. Is that okay then? Or would you sit here and be like, well, it was okay because Hasan didn't know he was autistic and he's just making fun of him because he's white and white people have no power? Is that what he would do? I really doubt it. I really doubt it. This is where these people are completely inconsistent with their viewpoint.
Discriminated against them. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. So yeah,
it doesn't matter whether it's a thing or not. The intention is what matters. Hasan is making it a thing, actually, and his mods were making it a thing. They were in the process of making it a thing, basically.
We'll use it in a derogatory fashion. By the way, it's also a very normal word in the English language. Are we banning Ritz crackers? This is
no, we're not, and nobody has suggested or even made any argument towards.
I don't think there's going to be a recall of every cracker.
Yeah, nobody has said that we should change the name for the food crackers. Nobody has said that, or even change the term to say someone's going crackers. Nobody's even saying that. Or firecrackers. Nobody's saying, hey, let's change firecrackers. Now they're fire bangers or something.
N-word
Nobody's saying that.
Only used in that context.
So now this is the argument. Now he's saying it's okay to call people crackers because crackers also has other contexts. The N word is a different one, and you can't use it because no matter what context you use it in, it's always racist. So there's that. So how about the insult slope? Slope is a word. You could say ski slopes, slippery slope, right? But it's also a racial insult towards Asian people. Right. So now, is that allowed? Is Cheng saying it's okay for you to call Asian people that word?
Yeah.
Like, is that fine because it has other contexts? You know what I'm saying? And this is where this stays inconsistent. I bet you any money he would say, no, you can't call people slopes. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
That's racist. But you can call them crackers? Like, huh? What do you mean? Like, how does that
So
work?
context matters.
Yes, context matters. 100%.
And
You know what's funny about him saying context matters, Cenk? What was the context
Yeah, I
of
was
them
just
calling
gonna
people
say.
crack? What was the context there, Cenk? Context matters. Then why haven't you stated the context at all? Right, this whole video.
Yeah.
Look, we're more than halfway through. 4 out of 5 minutes through, and they have yet to give you the context.
of how this was used.
While 4 minutes in, saying context matters. What's the
What
context,
was it?
Cenk?
By the way, if you say the N-word in a news context, quoting someone else, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Now, Moors have changed.
Yes. Well, look, he even said it in an N-word. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Say, I agree with you, Cenk. I agree 100%. I agree
Oh my
with
God,
you
the
saying
screenshot.
crackers in a news article saying Hasanabi, the Twitch user, called someone a cracker and Twitch banned him. I'm totally for the news saying that, right? I wouldn't say they can't say that. Yeah, for sure. But now, can the news say Hasanabi, the cracker streamer, called someone a cracker? No, they can't do that. They can't call Hasan a cracker. That's a racial slur that the news would be using, right? Would be doing. But they're not doing that. If you're using it as a reference, that's fine, But that's not
That's
the point.
not
That
what they were
context.
doing.
So this is the thing, is he keeps making these points as if that was the context. Was Hassan just saying that someone else used that? I don't think that's the point. I don't think that's what happened.
About that, but I wouldn't ban anybody for that, obviously, right?
Yeah. And
But
nobody got banned for that, I bet.
in this case, they're pretending.
And they're saying they're banning everybody saying cracker. I bet you any money everybody getting banned for saying cracker is calling someone a cracker or
They're
trolling,
not just saying
like saying white people are crackers or stuff like that,
Pretending to be outraged about an insult.
Nobody was outraged. First of all, I have not seen one person be outraged about this, except for the lefties being outraged at Twitch for banning Hasan for that.
Yeah.
That's the only outrage I've seen. The only people arguing against them are people telling them that Twitch is being consistent with their rules. They're not outraged. They're not saying anyone's offended. They're not saying anyone's hurt. You know what I'm saying? They're not saying that any power has shifted. All they're saying is Twitch is being consistent. That's
Yeah.
all they're saying.
That doesn't ever really get used in America.
Yeah.
It's, okay, well, we're going to ban people for honky. Oh, wow, I get so discriminated against because you called me honky. All this is total lies.
The hunky is a more
Hunky is
specific.
another-
He says people don't use cracker or hunky, but that's not true. I mean, my entire life growing up, my white friends, we used to call them cracker all the time. Like, we would racially make fun of each other all the time. They called me, spick and N words and stuff like that. We were a racially diverse group, and we'd all insult each other like friends racially. It was
Yeah.
fine. Nobody bothered. I called them crackers, honkies. Snow fucking. Oh, what was that? A big one was Powder, that character from the oldest. He's like a really pale kid with a bald head. And I used to call my one white friend Powder, and I'd be like, "Yo, Milk, what's up?" And all this shit. But that's like between friends. There's no
Yeah.
harm between that. They do it back to me, and we laugh. There's no harm in that. Doing it on a stream to somebody you don't know, and you're doing it based solely on skin color, is a totally
that's a
different
totally
thing.
different thing. Yeah.
And it's meant to appease the right wing. Don't worry, we are cracking down on anti-white racists. It's absurd. There's no such thing.
There's no such thing. He just said there's no such thing as anti-white racist. Didn't Hasan literally say it was anti-white racism? He just excused the anti-white racist.
But there's a problem when there isn't. It's the usual right-wing.
No. There is a problem. The problem is they're calling people slurs based on the color of their skin.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It might not be a problem to the people they're calling that. They might not care. I mean, from what I heard, they were calling some guy a master chef. That guy has no idea. So there's no harm there. But the point is, that's the intention. And if you want them to police that stuff, it's easier. Like, it's almost like they want them to be perfect and do this job that's impossible. Like, they want them to police every single instance, but they don't want them to like, well, they want them to do too much. Like, they want them to look into the nuance and context of every situation. But then when they don't pick it right, they get upset, and it's like, what do you want from them?
Yeah.
Like, how do they know whether you're joking? How do they know whether you know? But it's easier for them to just be like, they're insulting this guy by his skin color, ban him.
Yeah.
You know, like that's easier than spending. Like Twitch has thousands, millions of people watching at once and commenting and doing all. They don't have time to check everything. You know?
With Twitch, I think it's a little bit different as well, though, in that if you're a Twitch creator or if you're a Twitch mod, you can set certain words to be censored in your like yourself. So if certain people like the ones that are complaining on Twitter saying like, oh well, I watched such and they don't ban this or it took this long to like remove that word. Well, maybe that mod isn't doing their job.
Yeah, the mod's not doing their job.
They don't care to remove that word.
And if you witness that, why didn't you flag it? You know what I'm saying? Like, you yourself can flag anything you see in a chat that's not... In fact, Hasan probably got flagged. It probably wasn't an auto mod, or they keep calling it, oh, it was an auto mod. That's probably not true. What caught Hasan's mods is probably somebody flagged it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody's like, aha, I caught them being hypocritical and slurring somebody. But guess what? If you do that, you do that. Just accept that you did it and move on. You know? But don't try to excuse it and say it's okay to be racist. Because that's what's happened now, is that they have to swallow saying it's okay to be racist towards white people because they have no power. And that's basically what they have to do. And like I said, that boils down to either it's never okay, or it's only okay when you do it to one group of people, but it's not okay to anyone else. And that's what you want to stand on it. But just admit that that's what you're standing on, right? Like, don't bullshit us with some, bullshit, dancing around the argument. Just admit that you want to racially be racist towards white people and that you want to racially slur white people. Just admit it. Like, some of them do. You argue with them enough and they'll be like, yeah, fucking white people are crackers, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, well, then, at least you admit it. Go for it. I'm not offended by that. So you're just doing it. You're just acting like a baby for no reason, thinking that you're going to piss me off. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm glad you admitted it. That's what I wanted. I want you to just admit it. Now, nobody said that. See, nobody. This is the funny thing is, this whole situation is opposite. It's Hasan who's saying he's a victim in this situation. No one else has said they're the victim in this situation except Hasan. He's the only one who said that he's a victim in this situation.
Total lies. Thanks for watching the
lies. I would love to see any context. It was very strange that they showed zero context. It's like, what happened, Cenk? I thought you said it was all about context. Now it's not about context at all. But you won't give us any context as to how it happened. And like I said, I don't think the clip's out there. If anybody knows where the clip is, I'd see that. But I don't think the clip is out there. But I can almost guarantee that they weren't talking about eating crackers and tea. You know what I'm saying? Having a little coffee and with some buttered crackers on the side. I can guarantee you that's not how it was used and what they were saying. And anybody who says it was is probably bullshitting. And they're bullshitting. What else? Let's watch what Hasan said about it. Hasan Packer. So I got banned, he said. Here we go. Back for a second. Hasan Packer. I'm
gonna try and say it in a Hasan voice. So I got banned.
I got banned, dude.
Okay.
Okay. He's so California. Okay. I got banned, okay, dude.
Slur. That's the whole point. Hateful, bigoted slurs without historic or contemporary oppression are just meanie bobini words, okay? They're making you feel bad. Is my VOD gone again?
What's funny is he's saying they're making you feel bad. The argument isn't that anybody feels bad. It's that that's what you want out of it. You want people to feel bad. But I would guarantee that if I told Hasan, are you pro-bullying? He would say no.
No.
So then it doesn't matter about the historical context. It's still you bullying, right?
Yeah.
Like, it might be just a little bullying. It might not be a huge amount of bullying, but it's still bullying, right? Regardless, and you're against that.
You know,
like he's got Hezbollah on the floor.
Oh, that's what it was. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah.
You know
that's
what
I think it is.
Else gets people really upset when you call them it? The word dork.
Dork.
If you call people a dork online, they get really upset all of a sudden. Like, oh, what you call me a dork for all of a sudden? The slightest little thing, and they're gonna now say that Cracker saying that as a slur, that's not. Like,
Yeah, that's not.
That's not meant a certain way.
Yeah. You know what you mean when you say
Dude, this
it.
is the second day in a row
Stop
where
lying.
Twitch has just taken down my VOD. What is happening? I'm getting increasingly more annoyed with the way that Twitch is operating, and they are, of course,
Well, too
notorious
bad.
for not communicating exactly what's going on. Some people tried appealing their ban for the C word, and they got denied because since they have no tolerance for racism.
Well, yeah. If their rule is to have zero tolerance for racism, guess what? Even a tiny little piece of racism that doesn't hurt anybody or isn't oppressing anyone or has zero power, it's still zero tolerance means zero tolerance. They still won't tolerate that. You know?
Yeah.
So it's completely consistent if that's what they're saying is happening.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's totally chill. They have like absolutely yeeted like half my audience off the platform. So that
Well, that's what I was saying. Doesn't that say a lot about Hasan's audience? That half his audience has gotten yeeted off the platform for saying cracker? That says a lot about your audience there.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. New saltine staff at Twitch. New saltine staff. Like, what do you expect, Hasan? You think that they're saying that as not
As meaning
talking
the
about
food,
white people
like,
and being
yeah.
offensive towards white people? Like, whether people are offended by that or not? And they're using saltine to substitute the word cracker.
Yeah. People like Lance
cool.
saying, "Oh,
I don't
you
know
should
what
have
like
used
Twitch's
the
goal.
Lance saying, "Oh, you should have used the A instead of the hard R for the word."
Lance tweeted
It
out and
means
said you
the
should have used the
same
A at the end instead, right? Like, and I was like, oh, so that's okay now, Lance? It's okay to when you switch it to the word A, because I'm pretty sure you've said it's not. Like, you know, so that's funny. That's a funny contradictoriness there.
Is, right? It wasn't an auto ban until the MasterChef Max incident, which is telling that some Twitch.
Yeah. No, this person doesn't understand how shit works, but he says it wasn't an auto ban until the MasterChef Max incident, which is telling that some Twitch admins are going nuts right now because of it.
This is who he looks like.
What that
Some
means,
white boy.
yeah, what that means is they're going nuts about it because Hasan is one of the biggest people viewed on Twitch, and lots of people saw that, and now they're going against him, putting cracker on everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's like exploded to his own thing. What he could do is tell his audience, hey guys, don't put that word, I was wrong to use it. Let's not use that word, Twitch doesn't like it, so let's go by Twitch's rules. Like,
Twitch admins are going nuts right now because of it. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. I think internally there's a conflict where should we ban cracker? No. Should we not? You know what I mean? What is the deal? Are
they're
we
not
banning
banning
to
cracker.
The interests and demands of people who would otherwise?
It's weird because they're not banning cracker. Nobody's saying they're banning the word cracker. They're all saying this, and they're saying they have zero tolerance for racism. I'm betting none of them are saying cracker in like a regular way. They're all saying it in the racist way, And then they're saying, there's an eternal struggle. Is it a racist? Blah, blah, should we ban it? No, they're not thinking of banning the word cracker. They're thinking of banning it as its use as a slur.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
Use every other slur known to man. Why does it feel so targeted like this? Is this happening on other streamers? No shot. No,
it's targeted because you're one of the biggest people on Twitch. They need to make an example of this. They're going to pick the biggest person to do it, right?
Yeah.
They can't allow their biggest streamer to just start bullying people based on race.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What the fuck? Like, how weird is that? Of course it's
I hate
targeted.
being in
He's
limbo
the biggest,
like this.
one of the
like,
biggest
if you're
people
gonna
on Twitch.
ban me. Just don't not ban me and like
No,
keep
they
deleting my
suspended
VODs.
you.
It's also annoying because Twitch is taking a cowardly position where
This is before he was banned, I guess. Because he just said, if you're gonna ban me, just ban me. Just stop deleting my VODs. I guess they're deleting like offensive VODs that he had, and then it showed the tweet of him getting banned. So he recorded this before that.
come out and be like, anti-white racism is unacceptable on this platform, and that's precisely why.
I agree with that. Twitch should come out and say anti-white racism is unacceptable on this platform. I agree with that. I don't even think they should specify anti-white. I think they should just come out and say all racism is not tolerated on Twitch. If they want to do that and be consistent, and they are being consistent about it, in this way, they should just be like, we have a zero tolerance policy for racism, regardless. Of the.
We are banning the usage of the term cracker because they know that they would get fucking clowned on by like.
I don't think so. I don't think anybody would clown on them for that. I think people would say, well, at least they're being consistent. In fact, now that he's been banned, most people's arguments, this is why they keep saying people are arguing different. The argument is Yeah, that's consistent. Yeah, that's what the argument is against them.
89%
Is
of
that,
media
that's
that isn't
consistent.
like predominantly fucking focused on random weirdos that spend all of their time in their mother's basement talking about the fucking ethics of being able to use the C word versus,
Nobody cares about the ethics of going to say a C word. That's not been the argument. The argument is that it's consistent for them to ban you for, slurring someone for their skin color, whether it's effective or not.
how they should also be
Or
able to
the
say the
ethics
N word
behind it
as
or not.
well. And that's precisely
And
why.
nobody has made the argument that they should be able to say the N word as well, right? Like, that's so funny. You're the ones arguing you want to be able to say cracker and call people cracker.
Yeah.
I don't think they've made like a serious decision yet. And that's precisely why they're fucking waiting on trying to figure out what to do with this. Okay. And that's what's currently happening.
Okay.
It's the dumbest fucking drama, but it's like, take a stance, dude. I know this is a complex or
I agree with that. Take a stance. But just come out and say, yeah, we have zero tolerance for racism.
complicated situation, a complicated issue, but you didn't have a problem fucking yeeting incel and simp immediately when you came out of the gate swinging and you were like, we're going to make sure that people can't be called incel or simp anymore. And it was like, who are you protecting in that situation?
It wasn't to protect anyone. I can guarantee you that they didn't delete those right away. It took a long time. And the reason they got rid of those is because people kept using those in mass quantities to bully people.
You're just
and you
spamming
would get
people's
lines
chats.
of people coming in and raiding a place and saying simp, 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 you're a simp, you're a simp, you're an incel, simp, simp, simp. You know what I'm saying? And so they were like, all right, people are using these words to bully people.
Yeah. They're not
Like, let's
saying
get rid of
it to be cute. They're saying it to piss people off, and it's flooding the entire street.
But they're like, who are you protecting? They're protecting the people who are being bullied with the word simp and incel. Whether it hurts them or not, people are using it to bully people. That's the whole point of the term.
Situation. That's so silly. You're being ridiculous. And they stopped it. They never banned anyone for that. And now it's like a similar
sure some
situation with
people maybe
cracker
were
is
banned.
occurring.
Bullshit. If somebody
Yeah.
keeps calling someone an insult and bullying them on a stream, I bet you any money somebody could flag it and Twitch would ban that person. Twitch would be like, that's bullying. Let's get rid of it.
And they're like trying to fucking figure this shit out. It's like, I want to move on. Okay. I want to move on. It's so stupid. I don't care. It's just make a decision. Okay. Like I'm not married to being able to say cracker. Okay. I've
Yeah, see?
never fucking
Sure?
used the term until
So then
my
what's the
moderator
problem,
randomly
Hasan?
started-
Then what's the problem, Hasan? What's the problem for them banning it? Just say it. Then why are you even waiting for them to say it? Just be like, well, it's obvious they don't want that, so I'll just wait for this ban to end and then I'll start streaming again and not say it anymore. But instead, he's like, make a statement. Can I say it or can't I say it? Why do you care if you can or can't say it if you don't even say it, Hasan? Who cares? Right?
Well, I'm not
We're getting
married to
clapped.
it, okay? But now he like just wants to use that word and
If you're
complain
not
about
married to it, what's
all
the
day
problem?
long.
Yeah, just take your week suspension because you can and move on. What's the problem? Don't say it anymore. Tell your audience and your mods not to say it anymore. That's it. Problem solved. It's
incredibly fucking ridiculous situation. Like they're writing cracker in the chat and they get fucking banned in a matter of minutes.
I bet that's not how it works. I would like to see an example, but no one's shown
No
an
one's
example,
shown
and I
it
bet that's
happening.
not what it is. And if it is, that's happening now because it's happening so much now. You know, because they
Any
can't
fucking
police all of it.
stream,
'Cause
go
it's
to
happening
any
so
other
much.
stream and you see people, not only the content creators are saying the R word, but also people are spamming it. They're not getting fucking banned. Same with
How
like,
are they saying the R word though? Are they calling someone an R word based on immutable characteristics? Because then that would be a slur on something that they can't control. You know, or are they calling them retarded as in like, oh, when you know your ideas are retarded.
slow.
I'm not gonna.
You're-
That's a totally different thing. They're not attacking them on something they can't change about themselves. You know, something they were a way they were
a
born.
number of different, way worse even spam that goes on, including cracker too.
This is the dance. Look, and then now he's saying Cracker's bad. He said including Cracker too. Then what's the problem, Hasan? You're agreeing that it's a bad word.
And I'm not saying this to like ban all of those people that say the R word, or I'm not, because I have fucking used it in the past as well. At least
Right, but it's about the context and how you're using it. So if you're using the word cracker to insult someone based on their skin color, something they have no control over, you know, then that's a problem. Just like if you're calling someone the R word based on something they can't control and change about themselves, that's a problem. You know? That's what they're telling
But
you.
like, I'm not saying enforce that on them as well. I'm simply stating that it's ridiculous to straight up fucking ban people for their usage of cracker in one chat because some staff members happen to be there versus other chats where you can fucking totally write it. And when I say consistency, when I say I want consistency, on top of that, don't want you to ban people for saying cracker or whatever, okay? Wow. There are chats who say the soft N-word and Twitch allows that. Yeah, but I don't want people to get fucking banned for that either unless they are like very clearly a white streamer saying it, okay?
See? Okay, so he doesn't want people to get banned unless they're white. So only white people can get banned for saying certain words. This is what I talk about. This is how they're saying it's never okay unless it's towards one group of people. You know? Oh, well, people are using a soft N-word. Well, that's fine unless they're obviously a white person. Then it's not fine. Yeah. Huh? Like that well, why is it okay for a Latino to say it or an Arab to say it? Why is it okay for you to say it? You know, like, huh?
Like we mentioned this the other day, that rapper that brought the white girl up on stage to sing the lyrics and then reprimanded her for
obviously doing that on purpose. So sad, you know, he picked a white person on purpose to bring on stage and humiliate, knowing that they were gonna rap their lines. Like, yeah, obviously.
It's ridiculous. With what are you gonna do? Fucking clap DJ Academics' chat, which is white as fuck already as is. Like, what do you want to like actively purge? Black content creators from the platform? That sucks.
No, it's about context, Hasan. Don't use that. Don't use words that are based on someone's skin color. How hard is it to not racially slur people? You know, it's not that hard.
Don't do that.
Can we please stop talking about the
Please stop talking about this, bro. People literally forget about it in 2 weeks. Nobody worth their mind was used to be offended by the word. Dog, we've moved on from like people being offended at the word. Are you fucking too stupid to understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Yeah,
this is now beyond that.
You don't even need to move. You didn't need to move to that at all because nobody ever said anybody was offended.
Yeah.
This is more so not a fucking appropriate application of the TOS from my assessment.
Oh, it definitely is. The application you used was to racially slur somebody, so it is.
And two, constantly putting my VODs under one, straight up fucking geolock hell, and then also yeeting them for the past 2 days. Just fucking.
Well, they're not telling him. I can see why he has a problem with them not telling him why. But the first thing he said, not true. You definitely did violate the truth. And on top of that, even then, you're violating their bully policy because their bully policy isn't that somebody needs to feel bullied. It's that you're contributing, you're applying bully-like behavior. That's what they ban people for.
I'm pretty sure Hasan has the chat where you can, it's like the audio chat where you pay to say the thing. People were flooding his chat saying that word, saying cracker.
That's what Devin brought up, that it was like when Worski was walking around with this stream and people were donating for it to say the N-word over and over again.
I don't think
it's the same thing there he's doing, and you know they're doing it for that reason. Exactly. It's not for the reason to be like, we're talking about crackers, the food. No, it's to be like, oh, hey, white people, check this out. You know,
like, I don't think Twitch
that's
wants
the intention.
Money
it's
with,
about
like,
the
a
intention.
slur being used in that way. I don't think they want that being done. So
it's about the intention and context. Nobody cares if you're using it jokingly and stuff like that. It's about the intention.
You can ban me and get it over with if that's the case. You know what I mean? It's really frustrating, and you're too much of a fucking idiot to understand that I'm no longer talking about people fake being mad about the usage of the term cracker.
Yeah, hardly anybody was. I didn't even see anyone.
Shit. Obviously, you know where I stand on this. You know where I've stood on that as well. I just want to know. I want to know what the fuck is going on. I've literally been a fucking advocate for the terms of service since day one. As much as I've been a fucking...
It's funny, he's an advocate for the terms of service, so now he wants to be exempt from the terms of service because he's been an advocate for it. Like,
receiving end of like what I would consider to be inappropriate bans. Okay, I've been an advocate for that same terms of service in the media. I've talked to other fucking media figures whenever they ask me about Twitch, why I like, especially if it's a partner that's engaging in it. What happens to me at this level happens 20-fold to much smaller content creators, especially because
but you're a big creator, so when you do it, they notice. If you have smaller creators calling you that, you can flag them. Nobody said you can't. Twitch isn't saying, hey, it's okay for smaller creators to call you something. You know, they're not saying that.
Don't complain to
They just probably aren't seeing it because they're smaller. You know, smaller, bigger content creators, of course, are under bigger scrutiny. They're more viewed than anyone else. They're gonna be under a larger scrutiny.
If you want people, more people like myself, more people who are progressive, who advocate for progressive values, who fight for fucking working class
Progressive
people
values
all around the
of
world.
not slurring anyone racially except white people. White people, it's totally fine to slur racially. That's his progressive values.
World who are anti-imperialist, who advocate for these sorts of things. If you want those people to exist on this platform, some of you may not, then not having a better understanding of like the intricacies and not having a decent approach to like white supremacist backed movements or falling into antiquated.
See how he's just moving on to other things? This has nothing to do with it. This is kind of long, so I'm going to skip ahead because that has nothing to do with
media outrage far
Oh my god, he's just going.
greater.
He's just going on and on and on. Let me let it go through to the next thing.
Out and no, I don't think I will. I don't. The overwhelming majority of like normal fucking human beings who don't spend their every moment on Twitch or on fucking Reddit laugh whenever someone, including like Tom Segura and numerous other comedians that have made jokes about this. There's a reason why people laugh when you say cracker or honky or numerous other.
Sure. There's also
that context mattered. They're not.
Yeah, because context matters.
Yeah.
That also works with the N-word. When people say, well, I'm not gonna say it, but when people say N-word, please.
Yeah.
That's funny to me. When I was a kid and I watched The Last Dragon, and the dude said, "Catches bullets with his teeth." You know, please, you know, that was hilarious to me as a kid. I thought it was so funny. And me and my friends used to laugh and say that all the time. My black friends, my Latino friends, my white friends, everybody used to say that all the time when I was a kid, and we'd laugh about it.
Other things because making fun of the ultimate majority that is a constantly expanding concept. Like being white is conditional. Okay. It is a made-up concept.
No, it's
built around conditional.
Here's where this is 100% irrelevant, and this is where they dance around this. None of this matters. Even if he was right, this is not right. He's totally wrong. He's making this shit up. But even if he was right, his intent and the intent of his mods was to call someone that based on their skin color. Not on whiteness, not on some conditional term made up, blah, blah, blah. That's not what they were calling him that by. Yeah. They were calling him that by his skin color. Like I said, that dude could have been Scottish, who were oppressed by the Brits. They are still part of the United Kingdom. Yeah. You know, they've never gotten away from British rule. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they don't care about that. What they were looking at, and their intention was to insult this man based on the color of his skin.
Yeah. What did he do? What did that Max guy do in that Master Chef that they're like, oh.
Yeah, that it was okay to insult him based on the color of his skin. You know, we all know this. We all know he knows this. He knows his mods were calling him that based on the color of his skin. Yeah. The race didn't matter, the nationality, ethnicity, whatever you want to talk about, any way you want to dance around this does not matter. We all know, including him and those mods, all know that they meant it by the color of his skin.
Yeah.
An immutable characteristic.
Purity. It is a made-up concept built around fucking purity.
That's why I say none of this matters.
When you're white,
to the
it means you're a part of
this
the dominant group.
Making
That's
shit
why
up to excuse.
Irish people were oppressed.
Yeah,
they were
see,
oppressed
Irish
because
they
were not white.
Right. So how do you know if that guy was Irish?
Yeah.
Right.
And they became white. When Italian people were oppressed, they were
right. How do you know that guy's not Italian? Right. But it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. Or Sicilians. Sicilians were oppressed by the Italians. Sicily is still part of Italy. Again. Why? How do you don't know these things? You're just calling somebody that based on the color of their skin. That's why all of this of what he's saying is irrelevant to the situation, because within the situation, none of them were viewing it in this way. They were all viewing it as he has white skin. I'm calling him a crack, you know, as an insult, not as in a pleasant way. You know, I doubt it. Like, they weren't saying, man, that's my cracker. You know, like, they weren't saying that. I'm pretty sure that's not what they were saying.
And Hasan lies when he says that he's not, like, irritated or upset when people call him a cracker, because that's when it's convenient for him to remind people that he's Muslim. Even though Muslim isn't a race, but at that moment, when he's called a cracker by those people, he's going to say, oh, I'm not a white man. That's when he's going to turn around and say,
yeah.
Of being not white, and then they were considered white. Same with Polish people, same with Greek people, same with Jewish people.
Right.
Whiteness.
All of that means nothing because you called somebody a cracker based on the color of their skin. You didn't care if they're heritage had anything to do with slavery, what country they come from, what people who they are, where they were oppressed by other people. You did not care. It did not matter in the slightest. That was completely irrelevant in that situation. And so this argument here is 100% irrelevant to the situation. He's just saying this just to say this. It has nothing to do with how they use the term.
Concept is ever expanding. This is precisely why when you are countering the dominant concept, when you say something about it, you're not actually fucking telling someone on the virtue of their fucking race that they are bad or wrong. You
literally called someone evil. Slave driver is evil. What do you mean? It's not bad or wrong to be a slave driver? What are you talking about? Like, huh? Incorrect.
Criticizing the dominant in-group. And because of that, it is impossible for you to criticize the dominant in-group in a way that is anything beyond my feelings are hurt. Not only that...
Huh? What are you talking about? It's impossible to criticize. No, it's not. You can criticize anyone. We live in a free country where you can criticize anyone, regardless of what power.
I don't think white people that are like in poverty right now are the dominant group just because of their
No, this is where I made that reference before, where I was like, what if it's a black streamer and they're calling an autistic white kid cracker who's poor, who lives in a trailer, streaming on a super old computer with the potato screen and shit. And this rich Will Smith starts a stream and starts calling him a cracker and insulting him based on the color of his skin.
That guy's more
You're going to say that autistic kid has the power over Will Smith? You're wrong. You'd be wrong. And this is where none of that matters because it's based on the color of the skin. They were not looking at the person, who they were, what their history is. They didn't care about any of that.
Yeah.
The point was to insult someone based on the color of their skin.
But cracker in its application is used towards it's to imply whip cracker. Okay, so do you think it's better if you said to a person, wow, that is a whip cracker right there, or a Nazi or a slaver? Is that less directional towards white people? Is that what you would, because I assume you would not consider that to be a bannable offense. No one is using.
It does if you do it based on someone's skin color. That's the argument. The argument is that that you're calling someone something based on their skin color. The guy wasn't Chinese and you called him a cracker. The guy wasn't Moroccan and you called him a cracker. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why the word cracker was brought up at that moment, and it had nothing to do with any of these things that he's saying.
For whip cracking person anymore though? No, of course not. Just like Nazi is not a fucking member of the National Socialist Workers.
Right, but if you call someone a Nazi based on the color of their skin and no other reason, then that's kind of a racial slur.
Party, okay? You are currently making the, well, that person is not literally a Nazi because it's not 1938 argument to defend the fucking the utilization of the application of the word cracker. That's precisely what you're arguing right now. Well, actually, that person is not a Nazi. They're not literally Hitler.
Yeah, they're not. So if you call them that based on the color of their skin and not on any philosophy they've espoused to you or any of their ideas, you're solely calling them a Nazi or a Hitler based on their skin being white, then that's a racial slur. Literally.
Yeah, I know. I feel I'm terrified.
Now, if he wants to make the argument that you call somebody a Nazi based on their ideas, that's something different. You know what I'm saying? But this isn't what happened. They didn't call somebody a cracker based on their ideas. It was a cooking show. It was on the color of his skin.
Feel as though we are back to the 2016-2017 era of the internet almost. It's a little terrifying to see so many people not recognize this. And I get it, dude. I get it.
People recognize that and they understand that argument. I don't know whether they believe it or not. It doesn't mean anything.
Within this community, not my own personal community, but within the Twitch community, for all of my horrible actions that slowly but surely chipped away at my brand, I guess, quote unquote, bought a house, Twitch income leaked. And every single time, every single one of those controversies kept, taking 1,000 people here, 1,000 people there. And there's a very diligent group of individuals who recognize.
Well, then just don't say racial slurs. How hard is that? Why is that a difficult notion?
You think because of how much money you have, you get to say certain things now, Hasan? Like, are you that dumb?
Yeah. Or we're supposed to feel bad for you because
that and continuously are playing a part in actively undermining me and saying that I'm wrong. Part of the reason why they do this is because they despise me. Part of the reason why they do this is because they don't like what I'm saying. Part of the reason is because they're like, well, fuck this guy. He's wealthy You know, he's successful.
You do that too. I mean,
Yeah.
you do that yourself, Hasan.
Yeah.
You say fuck people because they're wealthy. You say eat the rich and all this.
People
now,
love to go
in
after
this
Elon Musk
position,
because of
when
how
we
much
get to
money
this-
he has.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing that to Hasan now, and all of a sudden he's like, whoa, what?
What? Yeah.
position, opening up the can of worms that revolve around white fragility, ultimately is not going to allow people to see what I'm saying in the most open-minded approach. This is worse than the Gusano debate, yeah, because the Gusano thing was a totally made
go
up,
to the
fabricated
Gusano.
thing that most people had no fucking clue about.
That wasn't a fabricated, made up thing. This is a thing that's said in Spanish. It comes from Cuban, but it is an ethnic slur. It's not racial. It's not based on skin color, but it's based on ethnicity, and it is a slur when used in a certain way. And most Hispanics know this.
That's why it didn't have a lot of staying power. Whereas Cracker hits
Gusano didn't stick around because it's highly specific, and
Yeah.
it's not. And then, like I said, it's not based on skin color.
a lot
It's
of
only
people.
really for Cubans, but some other Hispanics use it too. But it just means that you go against. You're like a traitor, basically, like a race traitor or an
People
ethnic
directly
traitor.
at the fucking heart. They think, whoa, what the fuck? This person hates white people. The amount of people that I've seen on the internet that say I am literally racist towards white people is fucking insane. You genuinely.
But now again, Gusano literally is offensive to some people, and if you call a Cuban that, they're gonna get real pissed. And if you call them that to their face, they'll probably fight you. Like, I'm not even joking. You call a Cuban that to their face, they'll probably fight you. You generally sometimes have bad takes, and you take it way too personal if you get called out on it. That's true, and that's exactly why him and Destiny stopped being friends, because he was doing some stream and Destiny saw it and was criticizing his bad takes, and then he got mad about it. And that's why same thing happened with everyone else. Remember him and the Surfs fought over that, where he was like, "Oh, well, you're a jerk, aren't you?" Because he was criticizing his takes.
have sometimes bad takes as spoiled white brat, and you take it way too personal when you get called out on it. I don't think it's a bad take. This is something I believe in. And not only that,
Then you
but also,
believe that it's okay for you to racially slur one group. Nobody else can racially slur anyone, but just that one group can be racially slurred,
Like,
is what he's saying.
just a
his
moment
thing.
ago, he's denying that he's racist towards white people. Like, what would you call this? Like, that's you're allowing racism to happen.
And you're okay with that
To white
because of
people.
power imbalances, basically. You're saying because of power. So when polls shift, if polls ever shift, let's say white people become a minority 30, 40 years from now, and polls shift, and now the minorities are the ones who are more in control of the government. They're the ones in power. They own most of the businesses and advertising and news and media. It's still okay or not anymore? Or that's when we decide we can't do it now? But now that the other people in power, it's okay for white people to bully them now? Like, is that how it's going to work? Or can we just be consistent and say that nobody should be bullied? We understand polls shift and, power can shift and move, and maybe it's better to just not racially,
Slur people. For
period.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's in power or
Yeah.
anything like that, right?
so people have to recognize that, like, yeah, I'm a hard-headed motherfucker for sure, but I always apologize if there isn't, and I have a million times over. I apologize to black members of my community with the Nicki Minaj shit, even though what I said I don't think was that offensive or offensive at all. There have been many.
But you won't apologize for this, even
Yeah.
though even the people arguing against you are saying it's not really that offensive. So what's the problem?
Instances where I've apologized for hurting people's feelings, even if I think the other side is completely illogical. This is not one of those instances, okay? I want you to understand, if I am to take you seriously, white people in my community that genuinely and legitimately think that, like, Cracker is offensive or Cracker is attacking you personally, it's not, okay?
Yeah, nobody made that argument, though. Nobody said
I'm
that.
not. I do not have a problem with you at all. I am not an anti-white racist. I can't even believe that I have to specify this.
He's saying he's not, but he thinks it's okay to insult people based on the color of their skin, only if they're white.
The rules should only be applied to you if you're white.
Yeah.
If you're any other race, the rules, the terms of service on Twitch should not be applied to you. But if you're white, it
Then it
100% should. Like,
Seems ridiculous.
And it's not okay to bully anyone unless they're white. Then you can bully them based on their skin color all you want.
Even like consider that framing as a serious type of framing. I don't understand why you think it's okay to shit on someone for just being white like Max. Someone wasn't shitting on Max
then what
for
was it?
being
What
white.
wasn't
They were
it?
shitting on him for being a fucking asshole.
But they used a
but they
word
used
that's
a
only
word.
used for their. This is where I say it again. if Max was Chinese and acted the same exact way, you're saying they would call him a cracker still?
Yeah.
I really doubt that.
Really don't.
If he was black and acted exactly the same way and you think he's an asshole, you think they were going to call him a cracker? No, right?
Yeah.
So then it was based on the color of his skin that they called him that, right? This is where I'm talking about intention is what matters.
Yeah.
Not anything else. So he keeps trying to dance around the intention, but the intention of them using the word cracker is, yeah, he's an asshole, but they decided to use a word. Why didn't they just call him an asshole then? That's what you get, you asshole. That's what you get for being a jerk, jerk, you know, But they didn't. They decided to use a slur based on his skin color.
Yeah.
Like, why? The framing non-person argument could be said for the N-bomb too.
Framing non-personal argument could be said for the N-bomb too? No, it can't, because there is a difference between... Okay, I'm just going to ban him and move on, because I have already described this a million times over. You're saying N-bomb, N-word, but you're saying cracker, okay? So automatically...
Yes, because we understand that they don't hold the same amount of power,
Yeah.
and then nobody really gets offended when you say cracker. And that cracker also has another context besides being a racial slur, you know?
No. And the reason for why no, not the same, is because historical context associated with dehumanizing and subjugating people and justifying that subjugation through
that has
things
nothing
like
to do
saying
with
the
that.
N-word, okay? That has not happened to white people while using the terminology
So
cracker.
that's the only reason. So if there's other words that are racial slurs that don't have a historical meaning of us using it or anybody using it in power or anything like that, then those slurs are okay then, right? Like,
unless you've been lynched, then we can say the word.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Even
That's
the
what I'm
word
saying, like,
cracker
it
itself
doesn't
still
track.
comes from whip cracking, okay? I've described this a million times over.
yeah, which is somebody who's evil. A person who's cracking a whip on someone else is an evil person. Treating people like a slave is evil, you know? They would agree with that. If I would ask him, do you think somebody who has slaves is an evil person? He would say yes.
Yes.
Right?
A lot of you don't want to hear this because you just want to feel like you're fucking oppressed. It's just
Look at this person. White people were never slaves.
Irish people are right? What?
the reality, okay?
Yeah, white
Sorry.
people
And
are
I know
definitely
that sucks to
slaves.
hear. But if you
Everybody
want to
was
fucking
slave
feel like
at
you're
some point.
oppressed,
Everybody
you are
had
already being
slaves at some
oppressed. You're not being oppressed because you're white, though. You're being oppressed because you're a worker. You're being oppressed because you were born into a poorer family.
Then why not say those things instead of insulting somebody based on their color of their skin?
a fucking billionaire or a millionaire's family? That's why you're gonna eat your boss's shit for the rest of your fucking life, okay? And there's pretty much nothing you can do about it because every single person is going to...
So then they have no power and they're oppressed. Like you were saying they weren't, but now you're saying they are. Yeah, right? You know, so he just finished this
just, like,
contradicting himself?
Contradicted himself, yeah.
What a ridiculous person. His argument goes in circles and it's not, you know, it's weird. Like I said, he was just talking about how it's okay to call white people cracker because they have never been in a position where they have power. They're not in a position where they're the powerless. And that's fine. It's not hurting anybody.
Now
And then
he's
goes on to
listing
tell white
all
people, oh, you're not being oppressed by these people. You're being oppressed because you don't have any money and this and that. And you work at it then. So then they are oppressed.
oppression.
You're literally saying they're oppressed. And now you're insulting them based on their skin color. And they're oppressed people, which you were just describing them as being. Like, what? What? Huh? All right, let's do this one ghost guy.
Oh my god.
Let's do one of his things. Let's see which ones he's got. And then we'll end it.
Right.
This is a new bread tuber we found that we're saying is going to eventually make a video on Sean, which is going to be funny. But I could be wrong. He hasn't yet, but he's still following along.
He's getting there.
He's getting there. He's going from like further right people to lesser right people.
Yeah.
He's going to get to Sean at some point. Which one should we do?
Next will probably be Nick Fuentes. I'm gonna predict he'll do Nick Fuentes next.
And if you watched, I did a really short video recently with a long intro of
Somebody gave a long
of this
complaint
video.
about
Maybe we'll watch that one because I don't really care about John Doyle. I'm just gonna watch the John Doyle one. All right. So
These motherfuckers hate social.
hold on. This guy is horrendous. He's really bad at this, but it's hilarious that he's really bad at this. So we're gonna watch. Now this one's called "Why the Right Can't Meme." Why can't the right? Meme? But if you've watched my video recently, it seems like he doesn't know what 1984 was.
or
So
what the memes are in
yeah.
reference to.
So
at
it seems
all.
like it's not that the right can't meme. It seems more like he just doesn't
just-
understand
yeah.
the memes. Like he's totally
special.
lost in it. Well, we'll see.
Conservative memes are on the lowest spectrum of comedy, I swear to God.
And I'm not even arguing that they are funny. I'm just saying that I think he
Allow the
doesn't get them.
Republicans try, and I mean
To not
try
know
with
them at this
anything.
point.
And
And then this guy's talking about what's funny. He's not funny at all. Like this guy, at no point is he funny in this. Does he even offer up any arguments
I
towards
mean
anything? He's just like,
anything. And even
super low hanging fruit. This is the lowest of low hanging fruit. Like I call Hunter Avalon low hanging fruit. This guy's way lower than that.
if they try their best, they fail every single time. God, was that mean? I finally decided to tread on the glory that is r/the right can't meme. And I've heard.
But now this is funny because this is literally already curated for him. He's not doing any work here.
Yeah.
So already he's making a video on something that he's done no work on. He went to a Reddit that's already curated stuff for him that's about right wingers making memes that are not funny, basically, right? So it's not like, and he says they get it wrong every time. So it's not like he's going to a random place where they post memes and see which ones are funny, which ones are not. He's literally going to a place that is curated for him.
Yeah.
The least funniest memes that's for the point of finding memes that are not funny and bad about the right, So that's already a fail there in the first place. So
some stories about this place, man. I've heard that this is another universe, another dimension, a dimension looming with stupidity, a place with people attempting
this gets
to
weird,
meme
right? He
and
does that
failing
weird dimensional
miserably.
thing at the end
And I
that's
want to
like,
enter
why
this
would you
dimension.
do that?
Yeah,
You know,
yes,
you know what,
I'm
though?
doing it. And I gotta
think
tell
he
you guys,
thinks
I'm
that
already
this little like sub hub that he's found on Reddit is like the dark web. I think that's like kind of what he's trying to like compare it to almost or something.
mentally preparing myself to die inside at least a couple of times. The media has no choice but to hate Kyle. He defended himself against the monster they created and showed the world why someone would need an AR-15 with 30 rounds. See, these people...
I mean, that kind of makes sense because, like, with Kyle, they attacked him. So it kind of showed why he needed a gun in this. If he didn't have a rifle in that situation, they would have killed him. They probably would have beat him to death. Or at least to a super harmful situation where you broken eye sockets, you probably have to
Be
fix the
paralyzed
skull,
or something
broken
like that.
bones.
In a coma.
Yeah, in a coma, who knows, lost all his teeth or whatever.
People have no idea
Grievous harm, regardless, he would have had grievous harm if he didn't have that gun on.
what kind of greaseball they actually opened with this case. Now that this little white boy that they like to call a hero got off with self-defense, they've normalized
They didn't
white...
get off with self-defense. They proved
They
that it
proved
was
it was
self-defense.
self-defense.
Or they couldn't prove that it wasn't self-defense,
Yeah.
which is even worse. Like, you couldn't even prove that it wasn't self-defense.
Teenagers taking AR-15s, shooting up some people, and...
No. Taking AR-15s and only shooting people who attack
Who
them.
attack,
The big lesson here is to not attack people who have AR-15s in their hands. I remember when I first saw the video for this, I was like, how stupid are these people to chase down a kid, especially a kid, with a gun in his hand?
Yeah.
I would never, in my life, I would never make such a stupid decision as to chase down a kid who has a gun in his hand, especially after he tells me that he's going to the police. You know? Why would you do that? That makes no sense.
calling it self-defense.
It's not calling it self-defense. He was literally under attack.
Yeah.
There's defense and there's offense. He was on the defense every single time. Every shot he made was on the defense with others on the offense coming towards him. And this was even proved in court. And Grosskreutz even admitted that he didn't get shot until he pointed the gun at Kyle's head.
Yeah.
Therefore being on the offense, right?
I wonder how
And
the
Kyle
people
shot him in
behind
defense.
bars feel that they're abusers.
That
1984.
what?
What?
Because
What
they're
was that? How do
abusers?
the people behind bars feel like he
Oh.
kills their abusers?
I think he's talking about women who kill the men who are abusing them. A lot of times they get off on that because of self-defense, because of defending himself. The problem is, and sometimes in those situations, it's difficult to show self-defense. It's not always that easy to show self-defense. With the Kyle Rittenhouse case, it was extremely recorded. Every single aspect of that was recorded. If it wasn't, he wouldn't have gotten out on self-defense. Now, if you want to compare one-to-one and say there's a woman in jail for defending herself against her abusive husband, well, is there tons of video on that from every angle to prove that? Or are we just gonna...
Or is this another Julius Jones
Yeah,
case? Like,
exactly.
give
Or
me
is this
a fucking
apples and oranges?
Yeah.
And we don't know. And maybe those trials where you're saying that, if we go through those trials, we might be able to see that there actually is motive there, and they collected life insurance or something like that to make it seem that maybe it wasn't self-defense. Like that's just a terrible argument.
I think it's self-defense.
And here's the 1984 thing too.
I wonder how the people behind bars feel that they're abusers. 1980.
I mean, but again, there is tons of people who get away with self-defense for killing their abusers. Tons of people get away with that. It's not a rare thing. You know?
If he means that Crystal Kaiser chick, she did not act in self-defense.
Yeah, well, there's no video of that either. And even after she killed the guy, she went on Facebook Live and bragged about killing the guy, stealing his car, and said that she was.
Do it again.
Yeah, she said she would not be afraid to kill again, and she wanted to kill again in order to get more stuff. Like,
give me a break.
Yeah.
That's not the same
That's
thing.
why she went to jail. It wasn't because they didn't believe her. It was mostly because she went afterwards, stole the car, bragged about it. I think she even wrote something about it before going there on Facebook and saying that she was going to do something. Like, here, this guy, I think at this point, he doesn't understand what 1984 is, and he thinks this is literally a party from 1984, a political party from 1984, you know. Because he's English socialism.
English socialism. 2021 democratic socialism. Ooh, socialism bad, capitalism good. And what are they even trying to
that wasn't even the argument there. They're just comparing 1984's fictional party, English socialism, which was a totalitarian government, comparing it to democratic socialists, saying they're using the same logo, which very much seems like they're trying to copy them.
get across here. They're both
speech is violence, diversity is homogenous. This is from the book Freedom is Slavery, Ignorance is Strength. That's like how they would try to condition you into thinking. So this is almost the same thing, saying speech is violence and diversity is homogenous. That's you're doing that. That's called newspeak in the story. That's what they're
shaking
doing.
hands. Okay.
But he doesn't get it. He thinks, oh, they're shaking hands. Okay.
I'm actually registered with the Democratic Socialists of the United States, so I gotta tell you, I'm confused behind this meme.
You notice he never brings up 1984. He doesn't understand that that's a story. That's a book and a movie. Like,
you know what they're trying to say. These motherfuckers hate socialism so much that they make up shit about it. They've been doing.
They make up shit about it. They don't make up shit about it. They're showing you the parallels between this fictional party and a book of a totalitarian government. And an actual party.
Doing it for years, for decades. Propaganda is a hell of a drug.
That's funny, because the book in 1984 is about propaganda, and what they're doing in that image is comparing the propaganda of 1984 with the Democratic Socialist Party, using the same words as propaganda. That's funny that he didn't catch that. He's calling it them propaganda, and that's the message they're sending. Come try it on you, calzones.
In calzones. Dobies.com, 513-524-2000.
Puts their
we
number?
do delivery,
Like,
pickup, and takeout. Oh, and let's go, Brandon. You know, I gotta give it to this business. They got a lot of balls putting Joe Biden on their calzone box. Kind of a dumbass marketing move, don't you think? All the smart people.
I mean, maybe it depends where they're at. In certain towns, that probably is a really good marketing move if they're full of Republicans, and they would all go there like crazy.
Oh, you're trolling? Won't eat at your business.
Just like, imagine you go, you know, we're in a fuck Trump area, right? And we go, there's a pizzeria up the block that has pizza boxes that say fuck Trump or something, or they call him Drump or something, you know, like as a joke or whatever, like screw dump or whatever. I wouldn't be opposed to going there. I'd be like, all right, fuck it. You know, I'm not a Trump fan. Why would I be against going there, right? And I think most people here would probably like that because we live in a fuck Trump area, basically. Like, so I think people would be cool with that.
This is really dumb. Y'all think y'all did something there, but you just screwed yourself more. Dobies in Oxford, Ohio.
I mean, show that. Can you show that they screwed themselves up? I mean, Oxford, Ohio. I don't know what that place is, but maybe it's a place that they do. All right, he's trying to say like it's a problem, but are you sure they screwed themselves?
Literally, there's nothing but Kyle Rittenhouse memes here. Is this all you got? Y'all literally got nothing else? Ah, here we go. If you can pretend that a boy is a girl or a girl is a boy, then you can pretend I got the shot. First off, who the hell is pretending? And please explain to me how a vaccine against a deadly virus is the same thing as personal identification.
It's called a joke. It's not a good joke, but it's a meme. It's like he's acting as if memes are literal arguments. Sometimes they are, and you can break them, but it's not like, you know, it's there's a reason why you're on a curated site for the worst memes.
Y'all make it
These are
so
pretty bad
damn
memes, but what's funny is some of them he doesn't understand.
Miss Trump yet? How's your gas prices, heating oil? Thanks, Joe. I'm on empty. These people know that the president of the
That
United
was a
States
weird voice.
That's a
Did
weird
he
one.
do that voice?
has nothing to do with gas prices, right? I've been gracing breakfast tables longer than any of you have been around. And it
Actually, the
wasn't
president can do something with about gas prices. They don't always, but I mean, they usually don't have anything to. But that doesn't mean that they can't. That's different.
This one
before
is so
comes out.
wrong. This
I've
one
been
is
gracing breakfast tables longer than any of you've been around, and it wasn't until the liberal pussyfat generation came along that it was a problem. Yeah, he kind of proves the point.
wasn't until a liberal fied generation came along that it was.
He kind of proves the point, which is stupid of him, but he does.
Don't see racist imagery like this. But the image
I
behind
don't see why that imagery is racist. He's
Yeah.
gonna explain it, but it doesn't really make too much sense. It's not really nobody really looked at that imagery as racist. This was a person who's like a nanny or
Yeah.
maid that were getting paid to work for the people that they loved and were good at making food. This is like, hey, remember that lady that your parents hired that basically raised you and you loved to have her on and made the best pancakes with the best syrup, you know? Like,
this meme is absolutely racist. The disturbing
No.
history alone behind this will make you understand
Now,
why
what's-
Quaker Oats said,
I like how he calls it disturbing history, and then he explains it. It's not disturbing at
yeah,
all.
that.
Watch.
Remove
Let's see.
this immediately. I won't get into too much detail. I'll just give you the highlights. Well, first off, Aunt Jemima
I mean, I just don't really care. I don't care what they use to market and stuff.
was a character created by a white man in blackface.
Yeah, so if he may have been a white guy who's done blackface, but why does
does
that
that
mean
matter?
that the
In
character
the
is
mid
racist?
1850s, they used this extremely popular art form to introduce
This doesn't look racist at all. This looks like these people like this person
Yeah.
and are amused by them.
Yeah.
white people to black life and culture. Now, tell me again how this
Now,
is.
why is it racist to bring black life and culture to people? Why
Yeah.
is that racist?
Black
To create
people
an
can't
art
be
form
on
that helps you
marketing.
share black life and culture is a racist thing. Like, it's the Jeffersons race I saw. So I remember we were watching that guy talk about the top 10 episodes of Martin
Yeah.
Lawrence. Like, is that racist? Because it was a black show and it shows you black life to people? Like, huh?
Racist? I'll wait. Oh, holy hell.
Yeah, I just explained that. He said, I'll wait, but I just explained it. But he didn't explain anything. He's showing artwork and saying it's racist because it's artwork.
It wasn't
Like, huh?
offensive in any type of
Yeah.
It didn't look
How's that
offensive at all.
offensive? Huh? You can show me old Latino stuff like that from like the 50s and stuff. I don't get offended by it. I don't think it's offensive.
Oh, what is this? Are you serious? Sanitation workers, street sweepers, manual laborers, peasants, and street merchants.
Yeah, this
I
is like
saw
a
the
joke.
face.
This isn't
Middle
real. Like,
management,
nobody
soldier-
actually believes that eye colors determine your
and
where you are.
craftsmen.
Yeah. I don't believe that this is real.
Officers,
This is a
officials,
joke.
and
This
diplomats.
is a joke. These are the memes that people do to trigger other people. Like,
Yeah.
they don't actually believe this. They just do this to be as offensive as they could possibly be to trigger someone on the left and be like, aha, you got triggered. You know? These are the people who are like, oh, why are you mad? Why are you so mad?
Influential
Instead of
artists,
addressing your
writers,
argument.
and generals.
He's gonna really
Philosophers,
take this literally
kings,
where I have the eye
explorers,
color
and
for
inventors.
privilege.
Yeah, he's literally going by eye
Men
color. Like,
destined
if
to
they're
define
really
eras
saying
and
that.
change history, who will be remembered for millennia to come.
Yeah, obviously not true.
You guys
'cause-
gonna remember me for millennia to come?
No.
No, yeah, it's a joke. Like, you're even
my
laughing
You
about
see?
it.
God,
It's
oh
for
my
real.
God, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
And the
they
right
are
likes
kidding
to
you.
say, we
That's
ain't
exactly it.
racist. I know they're gonna say this isn't about race, but it absolutely 100% is.
No,
But honestly,
it's a joke about race, but nobody actually believes that your eye color is going to determine that. You know?
I don't remember any of these people being street sweepers.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet they
Nope,
understand
don't
that.
remember. The vaccine
That's why
needs
it's
to
a
be.
joke.
Oh, what the f? I didn't even see this big behind here.
Yeah, this is a joke too. It's an obvious joke,
The
right?
vaccine needs to be worried about what's inside me.
Does he think this guy literally made this meme, that it's him
Yeah.
who made it and put this, or does he think that
Somebody
somebody
just like take
picked
it.
a funny picture of a
Right.
funny looking dude and was like, oh, the vaccine needs to worry about what's in me, like as a joke? This is actually seems to be a meme making fun of right wingers instead of it being a meme by right wingers,
Yeah.
right?
You know what, man? I think most of us are afraid to know what's inside you. Believe me. Protest level. No longer give a f. Now, I gotta tell you guys, this is something that truly pisses me off. These pieces of are comparing a vaccine that's saving.
I mean, I agree with this too.
This is
We've
the
been through this too. But
only thing that he's.
that's the only thing he's really
to an
right
event
on.
that
But he's not even
murdered
right for
6
the right
million
reasons,
people.
probably.
If you've ever been to Auschwitz-Birkenau in Oświęcim, Poland, you take this disrespectful right off the internet. These people want to be
I don't
oppressed.
care about taking them off the internet. I just call them out for their stupid
it's
analogy
definitely
that's saying, well, somebody could, one group can choose what they wear and others can't. Like, that's
So
totally different.
bad.
Completely
It's
different
disgusting.
arguments.
When you realize that white genocide is really happening. White genocide? White genocide? Where? Where? Enlighten me with your facts over feelings. And let's hear it. You know what? Hey, conservatives, come here. Come closer.
Well, I mean, I don't agree that there's a white genocide. I think it's a very exaggerated way to say what's going on. There's a big cultural shift. But the right wingers aren't telling what to do this. The left wingers do this all the time too. As we remember Lance finding a mass grave genocide without knowing what that mass grave is for or what it's about. Like,
place for you.
And
A
then
place
calling
where you'd be
everything a
welcomed with
genocide
open
is
arms.
bad.
Place where they have the same fundamental beliefs as you. A place
this
where
is
they
just a thing of exaggerated people talk exaggeratingly. You know, so like the far right and the far left are going to call things genocide that aren't. They're going to make the far right and the far left both use analogies to Hitler and Nazis for everything. You know, like this is why, you know, before you were talking about the Holocaust, like, as if the right wingers are the only ones who invoke Nazi imagery and Holocaust imagery. The left do it too, you know, and call people
like to
Nazis all
especially
day for
incorporate
everything.
religion into their government. Don't y'all love that? A place called Saudi Arabia. Oh, yeah. You guys would fit right in. All right, this next meme isn't really a meme, but
I mean,
it's
some of them do say that. You got people like Nick Fuentes talking about that we should treat women like they do in Afghanistan and shit, which is absolutely ridiculous. But you do have people saying that. I mean,
incredible. It's a bumper sticker stand at a gas station in Shorter, Alabama. Before I look at this, let's
Actually,
Google
like
Shorter, Alabama. Yep, that's what I thought. They have a population
smart
of
ass one. I thought it was kind of smart. I thought it was kind of
385, period. With the town total.
I know they're talking about Democrats, and I'm a Democrat, but I still find it funny. I think it's a pretty creative way to do it, to put smart in the silhouette
area
of
of
a donkey,
1.7
you know?
square miles.
Pretty good way
And
to
this
say it.
is their town
Creative.
hall. This is about to
give
be
them that.
glorious. Smart ass.
Yeah, see, I'll give them that. I think that's pretty cool. I think this one's kind of funny too, with the middle fingers, the little cartoon guy. That's pretty fun.
Okay, I get it. You guys hate Democrats.
Yeah, you hate Republicans. What's the problem then? You can both make fun of each other and rib at each other.
Out scam Democrats.
I don't even think that's just for
Survivor.
Democrats. Or, I mean, right people on the right to use those types of stickers. I think anybody tries to.
And I like how he shows that it's a small town, like nobody cares, but then you're caring, like nobody cares. What's the problem?
Scamdemic. I bet
This
every
isn't even a meme, so saying the
No.
right can't meme is bullshit, because this isn't even a meme. These are novelty stickers. That
person
fucking
that
store.
bought this bumper sticker and put it on their F-150 has had COVID. It's some piranha fish and, of course, an eagle.
See, some
with
of
an
these are
American
kinda cool.
flag,
Yeah.
Not
What
important.
makes these all
Get-
right?
No
Fuck it,
trespass.
that one's cool too. The fucking one is kind of
That
cool.
one's funny.
No trespassing. I own firearms and a backhoe. That's probably true.
I own firearms and a
Which
backhoe.
is probably true
What?
of the people who
Beard
buy
lies.
He doesn't know. He's like, what? What do you mean? What? That person who buys that probably
They're-
actually
yeah,
owned that.
They're
Matter.
ironic.
I survived the scamdemic. There's another scamdemic. All right, please enlighten me. Tell me this, conservatives. Why would the whole world be in on it? Why would the whole world come together?
I agree with
All the big top politicians and rich
But
people.
you're talking to conservatives, but you're looking at the bottom of the barrel. A Reddit that curates the most bottom of the barrel takes from the right, and then arguing them as if all conservatives think that. And go, conservatives, tell me, blah blah blah. No, these are the bottom of the barrel people. Like, you're making arguments against something
Come
that doesn't
together,
matter.
create a virus, and spread it around the world. Why would they do that? Why would the whole world be in on it? You don't
Do
think
that.
some governments would be like, yeah, I'm not getting involved with this. This is ridiculous. Scamdemic. I mean, you guys literally.
Yes, it's
set
ridiculous.
yourself
This is
up.
the far right people, the radical people who believe conspiracy and stuff. The left have that too. Like,
And you wonder why the Democrats and the left make fun of you. I'm sexy and I know it. Gas, grass, or ass? Nobody rides free. All right, that's
But he
funny
laughed
as
about it.
The South.
So you did think
You
one of
did
them was
find
funny.
it
He said
funny,
that they
yeah.
always fail and they're never funny, but one made him laugh.
Yeah.
He already contradicted his statement on the
Truly
right
is a
meter.
magical place, isn't
You
it?
laugh, you
Let
lose.
me out. Hello.
Yeah, and then this is where it
Let
gets
me
weird.
out.
It has no reason.
What is it?
Don't ever do that again.
He's trying so hard. Look at the
Don't
views.
ever torture me like that
292
again.
views
Torture
out
you?
of 10,000
This is our new
subs. That's
content.
that-
You giving up after the
This is
first
our new
episode?
content.
Yeah, this. I'm not doing another one of these. I'm losing my mind.
I'm sorry to blow your mind, but we're doing this.
No, we're not.
He's losing his mind over
Oh, yes,
going
we
through
are. What did
curated
y'all think of these
terrible
memes?
memes.
Comment your thoughts below.
I'm sure
Let me
there's a
know.
left
I
cat
read
meme
all of my
thing, too.
comments.
Yeah.
And if you can and you're able to, please.
Well, that's what we do. That's done for today. We went past that. Oh, look at this one. Is this like a... It's like a... What do you call that? Like spam or something?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're done here. That was fun. We went through a bunch of stuff. The Spider-Man stuff, Hasan getting banned, and this new ghost dude. I can't wait for him to put out more videos we can laugh at. I hope he does more of these conservative meme ones, 'cause that's pretty funny. But thanks for watching, guys. We had a good time. Yeah, I
which is
guess
fun.
if you want to send us stuff or whatever for stuff to like go over, let us know. And we'll do this again.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Yeah.